You wake to cool air and quiet stars. You feel rough rope in your hands and smell leather and wool as you balance sacks on the camels. A small bell clicks now and then, a gentle motif that marks the start of your long, even line. The ground holds a night chill that climbs through your soles and into your legs. Sand lifts in a faint drift when you move, a dry scent that mixes with dung and last night's smoke. Your sleeves hold yesterday's dust. It brushes the edge of your mouth and tastes like old stone. You do not rush. You hold, lift, and settle. You make the first knots with slow, waking fingers. The packs are simple things, but they ask for care. A folded cloth pad lies under each frame, so wood will not bite skin. You press the pad flat with your palm and feel the weave, steady and coarse. The camel shifts once, warm and solid, and the bell answers with one thin click that seems to hang in the dark. Leather straps rasp softly where they cross. The smell of hide sits clean and strong in the cold air. You pull the long rope through your hand, feel the twist, and cinch it down so weight will ride low and quiet. You lean into a sack of grain, lift, and fit it to the near side. The sack holds its shape like a slow breath of the earth, heavy and sure. Wool rubs your wrist and leaves a faint itch. Your tongue finds salt at the corner of your lip, the taste of yesterday's work. A cousin mutters in his blanket by the fire circle and turns once. He is only an outline and a low sound. From the far tent, a neighbor coughs and settles again. You keep your focus on the frame. The bell clicks. You make a second knot and a third, each one plain and tight. You test the balance with a soft push, then lift a stone from the ring at your feet and drop it into a side pouch to even the pull. The stone is cool and smooth. It says nothing and does its small job. A strip of cloth ties over the pouch mouth, and the knot sits neat against your thumb. Ash lies pale under the firestones. When your boot brushes it, a mild scent of char rises and fades. Water moves in a skin at your hip, a slow roll against leather. The bell clicks. You take a mouthful to wet your tongue. The water holds a trace of hide and a touch of dust. It is not sweet, but it is kind. You break a small piece of bread and let it soften as you chew. It tastes plain and clean, and the salt steadies you. The air feels colder while you stand still, so you keep your hands moving and your body close to the warm flanks. A mouse rustles near the grain heap and is gone. The bell clicks and sounds lighter now, as if it knows the morning is close. A lamp waits on the ground, with a low wick and a shallow bowl of oil. You shield it with your palm when a thin draft slides through the camp lane. The flame keeps its tiny shape and gives you a small circle of color on leather and rope. The oil smells sharp and simple. You lift the lamp, check a knot, set it down again. The light shows the old grain of the wooden frame. Lines pressed in by years of rope, stains from water and hands. The bell clicks, soft as a touch on glass, and then the night opens wide and still again. You pass the counting cord through your fingers, feeling each knot like a tiny bead of wood. You do not count now. You only mark that it is there, close and ready. The cord smells of skin and dust. You tuck it back into your belt and pull the scarf higher on your face. Cloth warms your mouth and keeps the dry air steady. Somewhere near the low wall, the watchman shifts his weight, and a leather buckle gives a small squeak and then falls quiet. Above the wall line, the stars hold like cold grain sifted across black. The bell clicks and lets you know where the lead stands. Another frame waits. You spread a blanket, center a sack of wool, and fold the corners in so they will not flap in wind. Your fingers feel the seam lines and the small bumps of hand-spun thread. The camel chews once and gives a dry, slow sigh. Its smell is warm and grassy, clean in a simple way. You run the belly rope under, catch it on the far side, and pull until the load sits snug. The rope's fibers rise against your palm, and the friction warms your skin. The bell clicks and makes a short echo in the bowl of your ear. You take time with the water skins. Each one needs its balance. Each one needs its stop tie firm. You cup the mouth of a skin and smell leather and faint smoke from last night's fire. You lay a short flat stick between two skins so they will not rub and wear through. The stick has a worn edge where a knife once bit. Your thumb finds that place without thinking. In the dark beyond the ring of packs, a thin tail of dust climbs and falls where someone moves. A dog noses at the ash and gives up. The bell clicks and tucks itself back into the quiet. Your hands find the lead rope. It is thick and old, with knots set where fingers know them. You slide it through the nose ring and feel the ring turn smooth and cool. The camel leans forward, then leans back, then holds still. You brush its neck with the flat of your hand, and hair clings to your palm. A faint smell of sweet hay sits on your sleeve now. You listen for any shift in the load and hear only hide on wool and wool on wood. The bell clicks. You stand close so the animal feels your presence and keeps calm. The last sack is light, ground spice, a little salt, a small roll of cloth for trade. You open the flap, smell the sharp dust of the spice, then close the flap and tie it with a short length of cord. You check the tool bag. Awl, spare thong, a folded cloth, a small stone for weight, the lamp, everything in its place. Your teeth hold a sliver of grit. You wash it down with a careful sip and feel the water move low in your body. From behind, your cousin's hand appears, takes the empty breadcloth, and pulls it back into his blanket without a word. The bell clicks, tidy and light. You rub a thumb along the camel's cheek where the hair grows thin and smooth. Skin is warm against the cold air. You whisper nothing. Your breath would fog and then fade, and there is no need for sound. You feel the old habit of the work settle into bones and shoulders. Sand grips your boot in a soft hold. Cloth scrapes very lightly against leather. You look once to the places you cannot see yet, feel their pull, and then bring your mind back to the knot in your hand. The bell clicks and sets the small measure of your next move. Across the camp, someone stirs the ash and finds a red heart under gray. A tiny plume rises and brings out a warm, sweet smell that mixes with hide and wool. You tie a short thong around the frame to hold the tool roll, then press the knot with your thumb until it lies flat. A thin line of frost glows along the lip of a wooden bowl near the firestones. You place it upside down so it will not gather dust. The lamp shows a faint sheen on the bowl's rim and makes the wood grain look wet. The bell clicks and makes a brief silver line in the air. You lift your scarf and taste the morning, husk and salt and a hint of smoke. Your fingers ache in a slow, honest way. You flex them and let the ache show you where the work has gone. The camel shifts, and the load answers with a mild leaning that stops where it should. You test the belly rope and feel the right pull. Far off, something small, maybe a fox, pads over the crust and then is gone. Only a whisper of sand against stone remains. The bell clicks. You know the line will be even when day comes. A humor the size of a crumb passes through you as you touch the lead rope. The camels seem to keep their own calendar and prefer the late hour to the early one. You hide a thin smile in your scarf and return to the work. You run your palm over the pack one last time, smoothing a wrinkle in the cloth. The weave presses a pattern into your skin and holds it for a moment. The lamp's oil is low. You pinch the wick down and leave the ember to finish its small circle. The bell clicks. Now the first pale band grows on the rim of the sky. Your eyes find shape in the dark. Rope across rope, cloth under rope, wood under cloth, skin under wood. You feel the order through your hands, not through thought. The ground gives back a dry chill and keeps you awake. Smoke from your own sleeve carries a quiet memory of last night's fire. It lingers in your nose and then thins away. You lift the counting cord, slide one knot to the side, and set it back. The bell clicks, and the sound feels gentle, almost careful. You walk the line, touch each frame, and speak only with your hands. No voice breaks the hour. The camp holds its low sounds, a sleeping turn, a small scrape, the soft pull of rope through a palm. You skim loose sand from a girth with the back of your fingers so it will not chafe. You push a short wedge of wood against a frame to stop sway. The wedge smells of resin and sun from some older day. The bell clicks. Your tongue still holds the flat taste of bread. It is steady and good. The lamp gives out at last. The dark becomes simple without color, and then grows soft as a loose cloth. You stand, straighten your back, and let your shoulders set. Cold gathers in your sleeves. You rub your arms once and feel warmth return. You tighten the scarf and look to the lead. The camel turns its head a little and then straightens. You hear the faintest ring and know the bell is ready to mark your first length of ground. The click is small and clear. It hangs, and then it fades, and the quiet settles like old dust. From the last soft ring of the bell, you move to open ground and let the dark thin toward gray. Your hands remember the weight of rope and the lay of cloth on wood. Sand holds the night's cold and gives it through your palms. A dry smell rises when you brush a clear circle with the side of your hand. You choose a place with room for a line, away from hooves and loads, where dust will lie flat and honest. You press a short stick into sand until wood finds firm hold, and the stick's light tap at the end of the push becomes today's quiet sound. You smooth the ground with your palm, making a plain face for shadow to write on. Grit clings to your skin and makes a faint scrape when you lift away. The air smells clean and a little bitter, like old ash cooled to stone. A cousin shifts under a blanket near the fire ring and lets out one low sound, then falls still again. The camels answer with warm breath and slow hide murmur as wool rubs wood. You watch the first gray edge of the sky and wait for the line that will tell you where to aim. The stick stands simple and straight. Its grain feels tight under your thumb. The end is blunt from other mornings like this. You set a cord beside it and lay a small bowl upside down to keep dust off the far end. A stone sits on the near loop so wind will not take it. You eat a bite of bread to wake your mouth, and salt touches your tongue just enough to pull water. You sip from a skin and taste leather and a hint of smoke from last night. The stick gives one more light tap as you press it deeper, then holds. The first shadow creeps out like a pointed cloth, thin and pale on sand. You hold the cord in 2 fingers, touch it to the shadow's long edge, and feel the day begin to take shape in your hand. A faint hiss moves across the camp lane as sand shifts under a cart plank. Someone near the wall coughs once and then quiet returns, wide and low. You do not rush. You watch, you wait, You let the shadow reach the cord's mark. When it does, you place a little stone and smooth the sand again. You fold the cord back toward the camels and align it with the stone you set. The fiber feels dry and strong, with small knots where you once fixed a measure. Your palm warms a narrow path on the ground as you press the cord flat and straight. Dust lifts in a thin veil and carries a clean, mineral smell that sits light in your nose. The stick answers with one soft tap when you adjust the base. You hold the line with your forearm and let the simple pull of the cord settle your mind. When the edge grows clearer, you mark a second point with another stone, not far from the first. 2 marks are a promise you can keep with your feet and your count. You lift the small bowl, knock the sand from it with your fingers, and set it by the cord end as a guide. The wood rim is cool and smooth. A dark ring of old oil shows where a lamp once stood. The camels shift again, and leather makes a flat rub against wool. The stick keeps still, then gives the lightest tap as wind sighs over it. You kneel to the line and press a strip of cloth along it, so the path will hold even after prints pass by. Cloth takes dust into its weave and turns from pale to dull gray. Your knuckles feel the grit in every fold. Your wrist grows warm where it rubs the ground. You taste the last of the bread, dry and steady, and it sits well. A dog noses at ash and finds nothing. You set the cloth's end under a small stone, then lift the other end and fold it in your palm. The stick stands and keeps the morning's slow count in that small tap. You check the angle once more with your hand against the sky, palm open, thumb set, where horizon meets light. The habit is old and quiet in you. It is not a measure you speak, it is a shape you know in bone and skin. You press the cord into sand with the side of a wood peg, so it leaves a shallow groove. Sand gives way cleanly, then settles around the cord's path and looks like a thin stream frozen in place. A camel gives a soft grunt, and hide rubs wood in a way your ear knows by heart. The stick taps again, and the sound is light as a seed. You pace the first length of the line and lay 3 small stones at even reach, each one as wide as your palm. You do not look far ahead. You hold this short face of the task and let it fill the hour. The air warms a little and brings a new smell. Leather sun waking on frames, felt warming under light. Your fingers still carry the cold in their joints, but the pull of the cord draws heat back. A mouse rustles in the grain sack and then goes silent. The stick holds and taps once more, gentle and sure. You rise and bring the lead rope to the start of the line. Then tie it to the first peg so the head will nose the right way when you call the move. The rope feels familiar, thick where you like to hold, thin where it wraps the ring. You pass a cloth under the nearest belly rope to clean out fine grit before it cuts skin. The cloth comes up with dust and a pale shine from oil rubbed in last night. A faint, sweet smell rises from camel hair, like dry grass after sun. The stick taps once, and the sound seems to touch the rim of the morning. You take the counting cord and slip 1 knot to the side to mark this start. Each knot is a small memory of ground you have carried. You tuck the cord into your belt where your hand will find it without thought. You drink another mouthful of water, careful and slow, and the cool sits low and calm. A man at the far edge of camp shakes a plank, and its end knocks stone with a dull note, then stops. You return to the stick, smooth the sand one more time, and feel the day ready itself under your palm. The stick gives its soft tap and answers your touch. You test the line with your eye and a piece of wood held at arm's length. The wood has marks you cut long ago, not numbers, only small cuts where your hand remembers them. The marks tell you enough. You shift the far stone by a finger's width and feel the rightness of it travel through cord and sleeve. Dust moves in the low light like breathwood, but you do not lean on that word. It is only warm air lifting sand. The stick, kind and plain, gives another tiny tap. A mild ache wakes in your back, a straight line from shoulder to hip. You let it be a guide to slow work, not a reason to stop. You lift the bowl and carry it to the next mark so it will be ready for your next check. The wooden rim leaves a faint ring in your palm, and the smell of old oil lingers. You rub sand from the rim with a scrap of cloth and set it down. A long cord of wool across a frame eases and makes a low string sound. The stick taps. The sound is the small nail that hangs the day. You kneel again and press out any print near the line, then pass your hand over the smooth place until the surface feels even and cool. Your skin takes on the fine grain of dust and grows slick. The sun clears the far rim and lays a thin gold strip on leather. It looks warm, but still feels new and hard. The taste in your mouth is bread and salt and a little smoke. Behind you, your cousin mutters once inside his blanket and draws it closer. The stick taps, and that tap is your yes. You walk the planned reach and stand with the lead at the cord's near end. The camels lift their heads but do not move. You hold the rope and wait until the shadow writes the same message it gave minutes ago. The weight is not empty. It holds hide warmth at your side, dry grit underfoot, and the hush of a line about to start. You touch the first stone with your toe and feel how firm it sits. The stick taps so softly, you almost feel it more than hear it. You take a last look at the cord and set each peg deeper with slow, even pressure. Wood meets sand with a subdued thud you feel through your wrist. The pegs hold. You fold the cloth strip and tuck it into your belt. You check the water skins by touch. Cool, full enough, ties snug. Leather smells stronger now as light grows. A fly visits a rim, then leaves. The stick's light tap comes once more, and then waits in the quiet. You turn to the head and lift the rope from the peg. Let it rest on your palm. The first section of ground lies plain before you, marked not by signposts, but by your own marks. Your tongue is clean of crumbs now. The taste left is a small echo of salt. The lamp from the night sits cold by the firestones, its bowl sticky where oil dried. You move it under a cloth so sun will not crack it. A distant cart gives one low groan and then holds. The stick taps again, small and clear. You give the head a touch along the cheek. Feel warm skin. Feel the slow pull of muscle under hair. The animal leans a little toward the line without asking, as if the ground itself made the choice. You look once more at the two stones you set, at the shallow groove your peg scratched in sand, and at the thin trail of dust still resting on the cloth's weave across your belt. The air carries a dry taste now, bright and thin. The stick gives one last tap, and the sound hangs like a quiet thread over the circle of camp. You hold the start you made, not the miles ahead. The work sits simple in your hands. Rope, cord, wood, stone, sand. You have the angle. You have the marks. You have the soft sound that will follow you through the first length. When you lift the rope and call the line with your body, nothing will rush. The stick rests, the ground lies smooth, and the tap you trained into the morning folds into the day until it is only a gentle note you carry forward. From the quiet you shaped at dawn, you lift the lead rope and bring the head to the line you marked. The sky turns from iron to milk, and the ground takes that light, as if it had waited all night for it. You walk beside warm bodies and hear slow breath and soft pad steps. Leather brushes your sleeve, wool rubs your wrist. Hide gives a clean animal smell in the cool air, mixed with faint smoke stuck in your scarf from last night. The lead bell gives a tiny ring, a steady motif that keeps the group in rhythm across open sand. You hold the rope low so the head keeps even with the mark you set. The cord and the shallow groove you pressed into the sand lie straight and patient at your feet. Your palm warms the rope. Your fingers feel the twist of old hemp, smooth where many hands have used it. A cousin moves behind you and mutters once under a blanket. The sound fades into the hush of the morning. Someone at the ash ring gives a dry cough and then turns away. The bell offers another small ring and hangs on the air like a thin wire. You bring your count to life with the knot string. One knot slips to the side, and the length of ground becomes clear in your mind, not as a number, but as a span you can carry. Bread sits flat on your tongue, plain, salty, right. Water follows. It tastes of leather and a little dust, honest and cold from the night. You tuck the skin under a strap on the near frame and smooth the cloth there so it will not rub. The bell replies again, neat and light, and the animals settle to that tiny sound. You lay your free hand along the nearest neck and feel warmth through the hair. The body under your palm moves slow and sure, a weight that knows the ground. A belly rope whispers across wool, a dry sound like wood on cloth. You check one load with your eye and see a fold that wants to wander. You brush it flat and let your hand rest there long enough for the cloth to hold the new shape. The smell of hide is sweet and low. The bell rings once more, and the line answers by holding even. Sand underfoot is firm from the long cold, with a soft skin of loose grains that slides when you pass. Dust rises in thin threads and then falls back, too heavy for wind at this early hour. Your calves wake to the work and then quiet as the pace evens. Shadows are long and straight. You watch their angle while you keep the rope true to the mark you made. Far out, a small bird lifts from a thorn and skims low, then vanishes into the pale. The bell keeps time you do not have to speak. You pass the first stone you set by the groove, then the second. Each mark is a calm nod from your earlier hands. The bowl you placed at the far end waits in the dust with a dark ring around its lip from old oil. Its wood smells faintly of yesterday's lamp, even now. You guide the head a finger's width to match the edge you chose, then let the rope settle again. Wool rubs your wrist. Leather tags brush your sleeve. The bell gives a tiny ring that feels like a soft touch on the ear. Your tongue goes dry sooner than your mind expects, so you take a careful sip and let the water sit before you swallow. It carries the taste of tanned skin and ash from the fire. A crumb of bread from your pocket is hard as a stone. You hold it in your cheek until it softens, then chew. The flavor is plain and clean, and it calms the small hunger that wakes with walking. Behind you, a dog that belongs to no one drifts in and out of the path, then finds a warmer place near the coals. The bell rings once, small and exact. You watch the line you made rather than the dunes beyond it. The ground rolls in slow backs and hollows, but the shallow groove keeps your eye near and narrow, which is kinder. Your hand knows when the rope pulls too much to one side. You ease it, and the head answers with a quiet lean you hardly see. A leather strap sighs where it crosses a wooden frame. The animal's feet press soft ovals into the sand. The prints fill with bright dust that looks like stone ground fine. The bell gives its thin ring and smooths the long moment. The sun finds the upper edges of frames and ropes and makes them shine. Heat will come later, For now the air has bite, and your fingers like the rope's roughness. You rub a patch of grit from a strap before it can work a sore place. Your scarf holds the smell of smoke, and it sits there like a small memory you can taste when you draw air through cloth. Far behind, someone shakes a plank and then lets it rest. The bell rings again, and the sound folds into the hush of wool, rope, and sand. You pass a patch of ground where old prints cross and twist, ghost tracks from some other line. You do not follow them. Your mark is yours. Your count is yours. The day is yours, in its small, firm pieces. You touch the groove with the toe of your boot and feel how true it runs. A rope at your hip gives a short creak as the weight lifts and settles. The smell of hide grows warm as light thickens. The bell gives its tiny ring, and the animals accept that sound as if it were water poured straight and fair. You shift the counting cord again at the next reach and feel the knot slide home. The string smells like skin and dust. Your palm holds the rope, and your other hand swings loose, ready to smooth a strap or lift a cloth corner if it starts to flap. A cousin falls in two bodies behind, quiet as a shadow, the crunch of their sandals lost in the hush of the march. You look back long enough to read the spacing, and then forward to the groove. The bell rings, and the head keeps the line without strain. A small ache lives in your shoulder and does not complain. It only tells you to keep your arm low and your wrist straight. Your heel finds a flat, and the ground gives a little, then firms again. You taste dry air and think of a bowl of water under shade at midday, the chill that clings to wood. That thought is not a wish. It is a marker along the same long rope you hold now. Wool rubs your wrist, a lash of leather flicks sand from the side of a frame. The bell offers its faint ring, and it sounds true. You pass a rise where the light changes color. The groove goes pale, then gray again. You press the near edge with your heel to keep it visible and move on. The animals breathe low and steady. The sound is like felt drawn over wood. A cord end brushes your sleeve and leaves a line of dust on the fabric. Your mouth tastes of salt and old bread. It is not unpleasant. The bell's tiny ring sits on the air for a heartbeat that you do not count. Your scarf grows warm where it crosses your neck. The smell of last night's fire is almost gone from it now, replaced by sun and hide, and the faint tang of oil that lives in every strap. A small lizard runs across the groove and is gone so fast you doubt it, but the small trail it leaves says it was there. You do not change pace. Your hand stays on the rope and your eye returns to the line. The bell rings, and that light sound is your consent to the long way ahead. At the first rest mark you made with a cluster of stones, you do not stop, but you notice it, and the notice is enough to bring ease into your legs. Your fingers stir the counting cord, and you slide one knot without looking. The string answers with a tiny rasp. You reach to smooth a cloth that has bunched under a load. Your palm feels the seam and the little bumps of hand-spun thread. Hide smells sweet where the cloth has warmed it. The bell gives its small ring, and the line keeps steady like water poured from a low bowl. Humor comes and goes like a brief wind. You consider that the bell keeps better time than any man before breakfast. The thought lifts the edge of your mouth under the scarf and is gone. Dust hangs in the air behind the line in a soft veil that breaks and joins with every stride. You feel grit on your lip and rub it away with the back of your glove. The rope runs through your hand, warm now, and your shoulder likes the steady pull. The bell rings once, exactly where you expect it. A cousin draws level, long enough to pass you a small scrap of bread. You take it and nod without words. The bread tastes of ash and grain and sits easy in your mouth. You roll your tongue along your teeth to clear dust and feel a seed of spice left from some older meal. It surprises you and then fades. The animals' heads sway a little in time with the weight. A rope knot taps your wrist once and then falls quiet. The bell rings and finds its place in the morning. The groove in the sand leads you past a patch of salt crust that breaks like thin glass under a camel's pad. You hear the soft crack and feel it in your bones more than your ear. The line stretches but does not pull. Each pair holds their distance by habit and touch. You brush your sleeve clean where the crust shines on it. The smell here is sharp, like stone washed and dried 1,000 times. The bell gives a tiny ring and threads the quiet. Heat begins to show in the glare on the frames. You loosen the scarf from your neck and fold it once to make a pad where the rope rests across your shoulder when you change hands. Cloth on skin makes a small drag that feels good. You check a water skin's tie. It is snug and cool against your fingers. The taste in your mouth is no longer cold, but it is still clear. You swallow and let it settle. The bell rings again, patient and light. You guide the head a hand's width to skirt a shallow patch where the ground looks soft. The groove follows you because you laid it with room for a mind like this. A stray rope end brushes your knee and carries the dry smell of hemp and sun. Wool rubs your wrist as the nearest flank eases close, then away. A fly bumps your cheek and leaves. The bell gives its thin, silver note, and the head returns to the mark without tug. The camp behind you becomes a pale place on the sand, then a faint memory held by smell rather than sight. Old ash, damp wool, bread. The field ahead is open, wide, and almost without color. The line you made is what keeps it human. You hold the rope, and the rope holds the work, and the work holds the morning in one calm piece. You move through it with the animals, in sound and touch and dust and sun. The bell rings once more, small and clear, and the ring lingers just long enough to fold itself into the quiet. From the pale line you set in the sand, you move with the head and take the first reach as if it were a single, long breath of morning air you do not name. The rope rides warm in your hand. Wool brushes your wrist and leaves a fine itch that settles when you rub it against your sleeve. The ground feels firm after the night, with a thin skin of loose grains that shift and then rest. Sun glows on the frames and waits to warm your shoulders. You slide the small bead down the cord, and it clicks once in your fingers, a tiny sound that marks the first count without hurry. You hold the cord low, close to the rope, so your hands share the same work and the same warmth. The knot string lies against your palm, smooth where many days have polished it, rough at the places you fixed with a quick twist of fiber. Dust tastes faint and dry on your tongue, as if the ground has been ground again and again into the same quiet powder. Hide smells sweet and animal in the cool air. The bead sits where you placed it, and the line you made in sand keeps the front true, while the rest follow with steady feet. You carry the old bowl in your mind for the next halt. Water at midday, wood rim cool in shade. That thought is not far, only a small stone laid ahead in the path. For now, you count paces with your toes inside leather, heel to front, until the measure completes. Your shoulder wakes to the rope's pull, and then grows used to it. A cousin behind you clears his throat once and falls quiet. A neighbor farther back coughs and settles into pace. When the ground gives its 100, you slide the bead again. and the soft click hangs like a single grain of sound and then is gone. The cord rests against your wrist where skin grows thin. The friction warms you even as the morning holds chill. You smooth a fold of cloth under a strap so wood will not press a hard line into the load. The animals breathe low and regular. The sound lies near wool and leather and never rises above them. Your mouth holds the taste of old bread from a small piece you chewed without looking down, just enough salt to keep your head clear. The bead is patient. It waits for the next 100 and gives no reason to rush. You lean a finger toward the groove you scratched at dawn to keep the head on line, and the lead answers with a quiet drift and then steadies. Sun touches the back of your neck like a hand that means no harm. Dust hangs in thin curtains at the edge of the caravan and breaks when a tail switches or a rope flicks. Hide warms and carries a deeper smell now, mixed with the last threads of smoke in your scarf. When the count completes, you draw the bead with the nail of your thumb. It clicks and rests against its neighbor. The cord has more than one bead, but you use one today, sliding it and bringing it back, because simple keeps the mind calm. Your fingers know the length of 100 without asking numbers to help. The ground tells you the rest, a slight rise that slows the feet, a hollow that cools the ankles, a patch of salt crust that snaps under pressure and then lies flat. You watch for swells of sand that could pull the line away from its angle and ease the rope a finger's width when needed. The bead waits. When the measure finishes, it clicks again, small and clear, a private clock that keeps only the time you can carry. You shift the rope to the other hand and fold the counting cord across your wrist so it will not bite. Cloth under the loop makes a soft cushion. You feel the weave through leather, the little ridges where thread crosses thread. Your tongue dries at the edges, so you wet it with one careful sip. The water tastes of leather and a little ash, not sweet, not bitter, only right. A stray dog drifts along the flank and noses at a dropped crumb, then disappears into the dust plume. The bead slides when the ground gives you its due, and the click hides inside the hush of wool and rope. The sun climbs and begins to press. It does not push hard yet, but you feel a broad hand on your shoulders that grows heavier as the light grows wide. Sweat does not run. It only gathers under cloth where rope and strap meet skin. You loosen the scarf at the neck and fold it once to change the line that rubs. The smell of felt rises from a belly pad, dry and clean. Nothing sharp in it. You finish the count and draw the bead. Its small click seems to cool the ear for a moment, and then the warmth returns and rides along. You do not look far. The wide place ahead is no help to the mind. You keep to the near ground, to the faint groove that your peg cut, to the pale stones you set at dawn, to the shadow angle that grows a little shorter with each measure. A cousin passes a broken strap forward. You catch it, tie a quick hold with a spare thong from your pouch, and lay the strap back over wood. The knot sits flat. The leather will last until shade. Grit lifts at the next shallow crest and tickles your teeth. When you pull the bead, it answers with the same dry click as before, neither faster nor slower. You taste bread again from the last crumbs under your tongue, and think of the next small piece tucked in the fold of your belt. The animals keep their own count, long bodies in soft sway, heads low, ears still. A rope creaks once where weight shifts. You ease the head a hand's width, and the sound stops. The air smells brighter now, like stone warming under clear light. You reach the end of another span and slide the bead. The click is no louder than a fingernail on wood and means enough. Behind you, two figures walk close for a short length, then fall back into their place. A felt cap brushes a frame and leaves a faint line in dust. A fly rides the edge of your scarf and lifts when you move your head toward the line. Your shoulders want to clutch against the work, but you let them settle and share the pull with your hips, your pace long and even. The simple taste of water would be welcome. You wait, because waiting keeps the day in shape. The bead slides when the count is done, and the quiet click folds into the tramp of feet and the low music of hide on wood. You look for signs that lie near your eyes. A ribbon of small stones that means the wind once ran here, a darker streak where damp once sat and then left a crust, a thin scatter of old dung you will use for the noon fire. These are not markers for distance. They are only the ground telling you it has lived. The rope feels rough but friendly in your palm. Your wrist bears a shallow groove from the cord that will fade by night. The bead touches the next mark and clicks. The same little truth as before. Heat thickens. You feel it under your cloth, in the knot of your scarf, in the leather of your belt. Shadow draws close to the camel's legs and sharpens, and then blurs again when dust lifts. You take a sip and hold it before you swallow, not for show, but because the body likes that kind of care. The taste is simple: water and hide and a soft memory of smoke. You clean a patch of grit from the edge of a wooden frame with your thumb. The wood shows darker where your nail passes. Your count finishes, and the bead gives its clear click, a polite nod at time passing. You bring the cord to your other wrist to rest the skin where it is pressed. The change feels good in a small way, like flipping a cloth pillow to the cool side. Your mind hears the bell somewhere behind you, faint, not part of your measure now, only another line that runs with yours. A bird crosses low and vanishes over a ridge. You draft the head around a shallow hollow that could hold softer sand than it shows. The rope answers without fight. When the 100 is true, you pull the bead. The click is soft but certain, and it keeps the work plain. At the planned pause stone, you take a longer drink and let a thumb length of bread soften against your tongue. Salt wakes the mouth and steadies you. You do not sit. You lay your palm on the closest neck and feel warm skin under hair. The smell of hide and old grass sits easy in your nose. A man farther back adjusts a strap. Leather rubs wood and then lies quiet. You meet the next count and slide the bead as you move on. Its small click is almost lost in the hush, but not quite. The ground tilts up and then down, a lazy swell that lengthens your pace and then shortens it. You do not chase the change. Rope weight shifts across your fingers. You open and close them slowly so they will not stiffen. Dust grips your lips and makes a fine skin you crush with the next drink. You brush a fold from the cloth over a water skin so sun will not beat on the leather. The lead follows the groove. The horizon means nothing. The bead reaches the end of its run, and the click returns like a word you trust. You feel the sun now on both shoulders, a broad warmth that takes no side. It reaches through your outer cloth and turns sweat to a thin salt that dries almost as soon as it comes. The scarf smells like wool and faint smoke. The smell seems to hold the morning together. Your heel finds firmer ground, and the rope grows lighter for a few paces. The next measure ends, and the bead clicks where it must, careful and exact, obedient to nothing but the ground and your feet. You think of the shade you will make with a pole and a cloth and the bowl of water you will set in it. A poor man's pool that tastes of leather and sun and relief. That thought rides with you but does not pull you forward. You live in the near work, rope to palm, cord to wrist, eye to groove, bead to click. A cousin hums under his scarf for a handful of paces and stops. The sound drifts like dust and is gone. You meet the 100 again and draw the bead. Its tiny voice answers as it always does. The wide basin around you holds nothing to count but light and small changes in the ground. That is enough. You accept the day as a long strip of cloth you fold and refold with each measure you finish. The smell of hide turns richer as heat climbs. A scrap of felt caught on a peg brushes your sleeve. Your mouth tastes dry bread again from the back of your teeth. When the distance fills, the bead clicks, and the click threads your focus back through your hands. Later, when the shadow is short and noon is near, you slide the bead and feel the cord leave a deeper mark across your wrist. The mark will fade, but for now, it tells you where the day has pressed. You let your shoulders hang low, and your spine find its own tall shape. You do not fight the weight. The rope warms your fingers through and through. It feels like a tool you were born to hold. The animals keep their calm music, wool against wood, leather against hair, soft feet in sand, a low grunt now and then. The bead clicks, the same as at dawn, the same as in all the mornings you can remember. You rest your eye on the shallow groove one more time and steer the head to meet it where it grows faint. Your hand smooths the edge of the line so it will show on the return. Dust breathes at your ankles and then lies down. You shift the cord back to the first wrist and welcome the bite. It tells you you are still here and still in the count. When the 100 fills, you pull the bead and feel its tiny shoulder meet the stop. The click is clean and small as a seed on wood. The pause you planned is close. You can feel it in the way your tongue asks for water more often, and in the way your hand lifts to shade your eyes without thinking. You do not rush. You give the head another silent guide along the track you made. Check one strap, brush grit from a girth, and slide the bead at the next 100 so the measure will end neat. The click lands and holds, a little echo under sun and dust and hide. You keep that sound in your ear as you ease the rope, raise a pole, and lay a cloth for shade. The bead rests against your knuckle, its face warm from your hand, its voice spent and ready to begin again after water and bread and a small kind stillness. From the last quiet click of the bead, you ease the head toward a small rise where the ground feels firm and plain. You choose a place with clean sand and a light wind that moves but does not force. The sun holds steady on your shoulders and grows wider, a slow weight that asks for care. You lay the rope across your forearm, free your hands, and measure a short span with your eye. Here, you say without words, shade will live for a little while. You pull a cloth over a pole and make thin shade that trembles in light wind. The cloth breathes warm air with a faint flap, today's motif, and that sound becomes your noon clock before the day grows hard. You press the pole into sand until wood finds grip. Your palms feel the grain, straight and dry, and the push travels up your arms in a steady line. The sand gives, then holds. You bank a small ring of stones around the base so the pole will not wander. Each stone is cool against your fingers and leaves a trace of grit on skin. A shallow scent of dust rises when you pat the ring flat. It mixes with hide and the old smoke that still lives in your scarf. The cloth lifts and settles on the pole head. Its edge flutters once and rests, a soft flap that tells you the wind is kind enough. You walk the line of the cloth and tie 2 corners down with short ropes. Knots sit low and neat so they will not grind. You lean to set another stone on each rope tail and feel their weight answer through your hands. The cloth sighs in the breeze and makes a small, steady sound, like a sleeve sliding over wood. Light filters through the weave and turns your skin a pale gold when you test the shade. Sand cools under the new shadow in a slow way, not quick, not sharp, just a quiet change you can trust. You bring a pole from a frame and lift the far edge of the cloth so it will point its long side to the open light. The wind moves under it and out again, warm and even. The cloth lifts and falls, a low flap that keeps your attention calm. You straighten the pole once more and listen for strain. None comes. The ropes hold plain and sure. You brush the sand beneath with your palm until it lies smooth and clean. Your hand takes the grit, keeps it a moment, then lets it go. The smell here is simple. Dust, wool, warm leather, and the faint sweetness of dung that has dried to nothing loud. You fetch a bowl from the pack, wooden and well used, and set it under the edge where the shade lies deepest. The wood is cool at first, and then turns warm against your hand. You pour a small mouthful of water into the bowl to judge the heat of the ground. It sits clear and quiet, not boiling into air, which means this will work. You sip a small mouthful from a skin. It tastes flat and safe, like a good rule. A cousin passes near and mutters inside his cloth and carries on. Somewhere behind the line, a neighbor coughs, short and dry, and then all is still again except the mild flap, regular and kind. You fold your scarf back so it will not trap heat at the neck. Then lay a bit of cloth under your knees where you will sit. The cloth smells faintly of old oil and sun. It has done this work before. Your fingers thanks the weave for being thick enough to hide the sharpness in the sand. The camels stand with legs easy and heads low. One chews and lets out a low note from its chest that barely carries. Wool rubs wood as a flank leans and eases away. You hear leather move against a frame, then lie quiet. The shade holds. You open the food wrap and find bread. It is flat and simple and rough at the edge where it tore last night. You break a piece and let it sit in your mouth until it softens. Salt wakes the tongue just enough. Dust lives at the corner of your lip. You wipe it with the back of your wrist and taste a trace of grit that speaks of ground and wind and work. You drink one more small mouthful and close the skin. The cloth flutters and drops, a gentle flap that draws your mind back to the shape you made against the light. You check the nearest loads while the shade settles. A strap has turned. You brush it straight. A girth shows a line of fine grains. You slide a cloth under, pull it clear, and feel the sand scratch the fabric, but spare the hide. You lift a corner of a blanket, let air pass, and lay it back smooth so no ridge will grow. Your hands smell of wool and leather now, and a hint of smoke comes up when you rub your palm across your sleeve. Far off, a cart rope gives one soft creak at the wind's small ask, and then rests. The cloth replies with its own mild flap, a call and answer you can live inside. You bring the bowl into shade and pour for the animals. Not much, only enough to wet the mouth and cool the thought of heat. The water lands without sound and holds its shape. A muzzle nudges the rim and then lifts. Warm air rolls over your knuckles, and you feel the rough edge of a lip-touched skin before the head moves away. The smell of the camel is close and grassy, clean in a way that meets the day without a fight. You set the bowl down again and cover it with a cloth so dust will not build a skin on top. You sit with your back to a frame and let your shoulders lean into wood. The grain presses a pattern through your shirt. It is not sharp. It is a soft map that your body reads and accepts. Shade holds around your knees and ankles, and lets heat leave in an even way. You take a thread from your pouch and stitch a loose loop in a cord end. The needle slides quiet through hemp, and the thread pulls smooth without squeal. The smell of the thread is dry and faint, like old plant and sun. The cloth over your head opens and closes in the light wind. Each flap is small, measured, and familiar. You set a line of stones along one edge of the shade where the light bites hard. The stones glow on top and are cool on the bottom when you lift them. A beetle writes a thin track near your heel and disappears under the cloth fringe. You rub a slick patch on a strap with a piece of felt until the shine turns dull and friendly. Dust settles in a low veil under the cloth and then clears. You take another careful sip and let it sit. The taste is still flat and safe, and you are glad for that dullness because dull things keep you alive. You look out from the shade at the emptiness you chose. The line you scratched at dawn is still visible, thin as a string. It points away from you with no promise and no lie. Heat lifts off the ground in small strokes and then falls, and the air tastes warm and clean when it moves across your tongue. You keep your thoughts close to wood and rope and water and bread, the tools that fit inside this pause. A goat, not yours, wanders by at a distance with its head low, finds nothing, and moves on. The cloth lifts and settles with a steady flap, as if the day itself were quietly breathing through its weave. You draw your counting cord from your belt and lay it in a coil by your knee. The knots lie still, like small stones in a row. You slide one and leave it there to mark how far you have carried morning. You will slide it back when you rise. The cord smells of skin and dust. It is a comfort in its plainness. You run your thumb along the rope that holds the shade and feel the twist where two strands meet. The rope warms under your touch and gives a tiny fiber creak that says nothing is tearing and everything holds. You pull the cloth tight at one corner to steal a little more shadow from the sun. The wind answers by shouldering the cloth a little harder, but the ropes agree, and the stones agree, and the pole stands without complaint. A cousin turns in sleep under a blanket near the edge and mumbles once, then quiets. The sound travels to you like a line on water and breaks at your feet. You eat the last of the bread from your hand and brush crumbs into the sand. They vanish almost at once. The cloth flaps in that mild way, settled now into the rhythm of the hour. You take off your sandals and empty the dust. It pours out in a fine stream and leaves a pale ring on the sand. Your feet feel the cool under the shade and thank the ground in a language without words. You rub the arch with your knuckles and find a knot that lets go when you press and hold for a count that belongs only to you. The skin smells like leather and sun and the faint salt of work. You slide the sandals back on and tie them snug. The cloth answers the action with one soft flap, as if to keep pace with small, useful things. You shift the bowl deeper into the dark of the shade and see your own hand reflected for a moment on its surface. It is rough and clean, lined with rope and cloth and wood, with dust pushed into the valleys. You wipe your palm once on your shirt and the dust leaves lines, then stays only in the warm places. You wet a corner of cloth and press it to the back of your neck. The cool is brief and kind. The water smells like hide and old smoke. It travels through the air with a promise of more work and more care. The cloth stirs and falls, its faint flap a low, constant voice you do not argue with. You set aside the bowl and look to the pole. The stones at its foot show no shift. You check each knot with 2 fingers, then press them flat so they will not rise and bite later. You fold a spare cloth and lay it over a corner where the sun keeps finding a gap. The weave thickens there, and the shade grows true. The camels ease down into the sand one by one, soft bodies settling with little noise. A hush arrives that is not silence. It is wool on wood, rope on rope, skin on cloth, sand on sand. The cloth above you keeps its steady flap, the day's plain song. You plan the rise without pushing it close. The cord will return to your wrist, the rope to your palm, the line to your eye. You will fold this shade along its seams so it will open quickly later. You will pour one last small mouthful into the bowl for lips and tongues that ask for it. Then close the skin, test each load, and lift the head back to the groove you drew. None of that must happen yet. Your body knows it will, and that knowledge is enough. The cloth lifts and falls. The edges stir and settle. The sound holds the heat in a kind shape. When the shadow reaches the mark, you guessed it would. You finish your water and place the bowl upside down so dust will not climb in while you work. Your hands feel ready again. Rope grip strong, fingers sure, shoulders set. You tuck the spare cloth into your belt and loosen the cornerstones. Sand is warm on the surface and cool underneath, and your palms learn both at once. You coil the ropes neatly so they will not catch. The cloth above gives one long flap as you bring it down, and that gentle sound stays with you as you fold the fabric along its old lines, lay it on the frame, and stand to meet the pale distance you marked. The flap lingers in your ear like a warm hand, then fades into wind and light, and the quiet scrape of wood as you lift the rope once more. From the shade you shaped and folded, you carry the pole back to its frame and leave a cool print of cloth on your shoulders. The ground holds a dull warmth now, and the air smells of dust and wool, and the faint tail of smoke that lives in your scarf. Your hands feel ready for the slow, careful work. You set a flat stone near your knee, lay a small cloth on it to keep grit off the rim, and bring the water skin close. The skin is dark and heavy, and its leather creaks once as it settles. You tilt the skin and count heartbeats for a fair pour. The cool lip touches your mouth. The water smells of tanned hide. You let only a mouthful come, then level the skin and swallow. The taste is simple and flat, steady as a rule you trust. A cousin turns under a blanket at the edge of the line and mutters, then sleeps again. You draw a bronze cup from its wrap, set it down, and it gives a soft ring on stone, the neat little sound that keeps your measure calm. You wipe the rim with a corner of cloth and pour for the cup, slow and even, so the surface does not slosh over and waste. The cup is thin and holds the day's light in a dull circle. The handle warms under your thumb. When you set it back to the stone, it rings again, a small bell of metal against grit. That ring is your tally, quieter than words, cleaner than marks. You taste dust at the corner of your mouth and brush it away with the back of your wrist, leaving a pale smear on skin. You pour into the wooden bowl for the first animal, not much, just enough to soften the mouth. The bowl smells mild and sweet, like old oil and wood stored in shade. A muzzle finds the rim and pauses. Warm air rolls over your fingers. Then the tongue takes a slow sip, steady and neat. Hide gives a clean odor that mixes with wool and sun. When the bowl returns to your knee, the bronze cup meets stone once more and rings its little note. And the sound sits for a breath of time and fades. You measure your own share by the same count you give others, because fairness keeps the body quiet. You tilt the skin and watch the smooth roll along the lip, cool against your teeth, safe and without flavor. A crumb of bread from your pouch softens on your tongue. Salt wakes a corner of your mouth and then rests. A neighbor coughs from the far side of the frames and goes still. The cup rings on stone as you set it down, the tone even, not sharp, not long, just enough to mark the turn. You brush sand from the cloth you laid over the stone and shift your knee so the joint will not stiffen. The wind smells dry and warm now. It carries a hint of dung from a small pile you kept for fire and passes on. A lizard flashes under a strap and vanishes into shadow, a quick line in dust that closes as if the ground forgot it. You pour a finger's width for the next mouth. Human, then animal. Animal, then human. A quiet chain. The cup rings, and the ring sits inside the hush, like a pin in fabric. You take time to find a slow leak in a tired skin. Your palm reads the slick place. Your fingers test the knot. You tie a short thong around the neck and press the leather flat so it seals. A darker patch shows where water kissed the hide, cool and kind under your touch. You lift the cup, check the rim, and pour the next measure. When you place it down, bronze answers stone again. A small round sound that feels level in your chest and asks for nothing more. You fold a spare cloth and wedge it under one corner of the stone so the base sits true. The cloth smells of sun and old oil and keeps grit from the lip when you rest the cup. You pour for 2 more hands and 1 more bowl. The animals take the gift like old workers, without rush, without noise. Wool brushes wood, leather moves and settles. Far off, a goat that is not yours crosses the light, finds nothing, and drifts away. The cup rings softly as your fingers leave it, and the ring keeps near you like a short line of music. You carry the next skin by the belly of the nearest frame, careful not to drag it through sand. The strap there needs a twist. You brush it straight and find a grain line under it and clear it with a cloth. Your shirt smells like wool and dust and a little smoke from yesterday's fire. You lift the skin, feel the pull in your shoulder, and rest it on your knee. Your count is the same as before. You pour. You swallow. The water stays flat and sane. The cup's soft ring returns, thin and clean, and you hold to it the way a hand holds rope. You share a thumb length of bread with the cousin who wakes and sits near, eyes half closed. He eats without word and moves away to check a strap of his own. The taste left in your mouth is grain and salt and the ghost of ash. You wet a corner of cloth and wipe the rim again so lips will not find grit. A fly visits and leaves. The cup meets stone with another gentle ring, no change in tone, and you feel the day fall into even squares, each square the size of that sound. You lean your back to a frame and set a skin between your ankles while you mend a frayed tie. Hemp threads cross under your thumb. You twist, fold, and pull until the cord lies smooth. The wind slides along the line and carries a faint smell of warm leather. The bowl by your knee holds a last shallow pool for 1 more head. A camel lowers its lips and takes it with slow care. You set the bowl upside down to dry, place the cup where it belongs, and the ring rises once, small and right, then fades into wool hush. You shift skins from one side of a frame to the other so weight will sit honest. Your shoulders memorize each pull. Your palms read each seam. You press a thin stick between 2 skins so they will not rub and wear through. The stick is smooth, with a notch where a knife once bit. The counting cord lies coiled near the stone, knots slack and ready for later. The cup gives its ring when you clear a grain from under it, a neat circle of sound that rolls over the sand and disappears. You wet your lips with the last small share you allow yourself and feel the cool settle behind your teeth. The water still smells faintly of hide and a hint of smoke from the last boil. It feels honest all the way down. You swallow once and close the skin. Your hands do not shake. They learn the calm from the work. At the edge of the line, someone lifts a plank, sets it down, and it answers with one dull note, then quiet. The cup's own note is the reply, brighter on stone, and the pair of sounds close the pause like two knots on one cord. You gather the skins into their places and tie them close. Leather touches leather and stays. Cloth pads lie flat where they should. You brush loose sand from a girth and feel the grain scratch your palm. A light wind moves through hair and rope and brings the soft smell of hide to your nose. You wrap the bronze cup and lay it by the bowl so it will not rattle when you walk. Before the cloth covers it, you set it down one more time and let it ring. The tone is low and even, a small, smooth circle. You plan the next pour for evening. The same count, the same calm hand, the same fair rule. You do not promise it aloud. You hold it in your body with the other simple tasks. Rope to palm, cord to wrist, line to eye. You take a last look at the stone and the cup, at the coil of cloth you kept clean for mouths, at the bowl with its rim drying in shade. You lift the rope and rise to the line you cut in sand. The bronze rests where you left it, cooled by the stone, and its last soft ring seems to sit inside the quiet, as if the quiet were a bowl holding that neat, small sound. From the careful pour and the small ring on stone, you rise and take the rope again. Heat sits wider on your shoulders now, and the ground gives off a dry smell that meets wool and leather and old smoke caught in your scarf. You wrap the cloth across your mouth and feel grit on your teeth and lips. The line moves, slow and even. Wind slides across the open sand and makes a flat hiss. That thin sound becomes the day's guide as you set your eyes on the groove you drew. You pull the scarf a little tighter where it crosses your cheek and tie the loose end under your ear. The knot presses a steady point against skin. It feels honest and sure. Sand moves like smoke over your boots, a fine drift that finds every seam. The rope warms your palm, and the twist marks your fingers in a pale ring. Camel hair smells warm and clean beside you. Not sweet, not sharp, only simple and alive. The hiss goes on, flat and long, never loud, never gone. You bring the head to the line with a small lean of your hand. The sun makes hard light on wood frames and soft light in the dust. A cord knot rests against your wrist. You slide it forward when the ground gives you the measure you kept in mind. You taste salt from dry bread left on your tongue, and the taste steadies you. The scarf blocks most grit, but some touches your lip and stays. Wind runs along the rope like a file on hemp and keeps its thin hiss in your ear. You check the loads while you walk. A cloth corner wants to lift. You brush it flat and tie it under the strap so it will hold. Wood rubs leather and then quiets. You feel the rub through the rope, a dull, good sign. A short wedge of wood sits where you placed it to stop sway. Your fingers press it firm as you pass. Dust lifts, falls, and makes a scent like warm stone. The hiss curls around the frames and flows on like water that will not run out. You lift a water skin, take a careful sip, and close it fast, counting in your head like you did before. The mouth of the skin is cool on your lip and smells of tanned hide. The taste is flat and safe and keeps your mind level. A cousin mutters under his cloth and drops back into place. Farther behind, a neighbor coughs once, short and dry, then still. The wind answers both with the same calm hiss, level as a hand laid flat. You lower your head a little and let the scarf take the first sting of the dust. Sand skims the ground and makes a gray sheet close to your feet. The groove you scratched at dawn grows faint on a pale rise. You press the near edge with your heel and it returns. Rope weight shifts with each small swell of ground. You carry it without hurry. Camel hair brushes your sleeve when the flank eases near, warm and clean like sun on felt. The hiss threads through wool, rope, and cloth, and never breaks. You pass the place where the lamp and bowl rode on the frame at dawn. Oil has dried in a thin line along the bowl's rim and left a mild smell that mixes with dust and heat. You place your hand there for a moment to read the balance. Wood is hot to the touch now, but not yet burning. It keeps its grain under your palm. You push one knot down on the counting cord and let it sit. Wind moves across the rope and keeps its thin voice in one plain note. You do not look far. The wide place is a page with no marks. You look near. A seam on cloth that wants care. A stone that could turn an ankle. A patch of crust that shows a crack. You guide the head around the soft place and bring it back online. The scarf tastes of dust and wool. It holds the grit in its weave and spares your mouth some of it. Your tongue finds a clean spot at the back of your teeth and rests there. The hiss lays over the day like a long, flat cloth. You shelter for a few paces behind the nearest flank when the wind lifts. Warmth comes off the body and meets the cool of ground air. It is a kind blend, close and real. Wool scratches your wrist and then feels smooth as your skin learns the grain. Leather thongs lift and settle. One clicks against a buckle and then lies quiet. Dust carries the dry scent of dung that has gone past smell into simple earth. The hiss makes its thin line across your hearing and sets your pace without a word. Dust is fair. It feeds everyone the same small mouthful. You slide a small piece of bread from your belt and hold it in your cheek to soften. Grain and salt touch your tongue and push back the taste of grit. You drink one mouthful and let it sit before it goes down. The water sits calm and does its work. A dog with pale ears ghosts along the line, finds a cool patch under a belly, and lies there for a time before it drifts away. You touch the rope again, and your fingers find the old twist. The hiss stays level, as if it were pinned to the day by a thin wire. Your heel fills with fine sand. You wait for a firm patch, then kneel on one knee and ease off a sandal. Dust pours like powder into your hand. It makes a pale cone on the ground and then flattens. Your foot feels the cool under the top layer and sends thanks in a silent way. You shake the leather clean, tie it snug, and rise. A small stone gets moved from one track to another by the wind and gives a soft tick against wood. The hiss covers even that sound and keeps everything one color. You adjust a strap that has begun to saw at an edge. A fold of cloth goes under it and softens the rub. Your palm smells of wool and oil and a faint note of smoke that never leaves the scarf thread. The sun climbs higher, and the ground reflects its light back into your eyes. You shade your face with your hand and let your fingers make a simple frame for the groove. Another knot moves on the cord and tells your body this part will end. The hiss does not change. It is the same in every small square of ground. You see a thin snake line in the sand cross your path, and then lose it when the wind writes over it. You do not change pace. Ground holds you, rope holds the head, cloth holds your mouth, the plan holds the rest. A strap end slaps once against a peg, and you tie it down with a short thong. Then rub sand from the peg head so it will not chew the cord. Your lips taste of salt and dust, and a little hide from the water skin. The hiss stays with you and feels like even shade for the ears. You pass a patch where the sand grows coarse with small stones. The soles of your sandals tell the change before your eyes do. The rope grows lighter for a time, then heavier when the ground softens again. You ease your grip and then take it back. Wood creaks once where weight shifts. You press the frame with your other hand and it quiets. Camel hair is warm at your elbow. The smell is clean and grassy. The hiss crosses the coarse place and the soft place with the same thin note. You take the bowl from under a cloth and pour for the nearest mouth. Not much, just a small kindness. Water lands clear and holds its round face for a moment. A muzzle touches the rim and lifts a ribbon that falls straight back. No waste. You wipe the rim with cloth and cover it again. Your own sip is small. It makes a cool path along your tongue. Dust still finds you, but less now. The hiss lies on your shoulders like a flat hand while you set the bowl back under shade. You shift skins from one side to the other and tie them with an even pull so they will not pound. Leather is hot now, and the knots need a dampened thumb to snug. Your thumb tastes like hide and salt. You wipe it on your shirt and keep moving. A cousin walks close for a while and then falls back to his place. His scarf shows a stripe of dust where it crosses his nose. A cart plank far off gives a low groan and stops. The hiss covers the gap and smooths the long space between sounds. A small rise throws the groove into glare. You feel its line more than see it. You lift the rope a little and set it down when the head answers the pull. The animals move like they have always known this work. Their calm carries your mind forward. You touch a knot on the counting cord and hold it between finger and thumb, a small anchor that keeps the morning from floating away in the empty distance. The hiss hangs at the edge of your hearing and sands every sharp place down to plain. You pass the last stone you laid for this reach. The sun presses hard now, but your body keeps its shape against it. The scarf stays in place. The cloth holds fast at the knots. The frame keeps quiet. You think of the lamp in its small bowl waiting for night, and of the rope you will coil for a windless hour when the air will cool. Those thoughts rest beside you like tools on wood. The hiss thins a little as the wind shifts and then returns, flat and calm. The same length, the same color of sound. You slide the next knot, and the line brings you to the mark where shade will live again. Sand is hot at the top and cool under that, and your hands learn both in a second. Camel hair rubs your wrist one more time, warm and clean, and the smell sits in your nose like a proof of work well done. You rest the rope across your forearm and lower the pole from the frame. The wind speaks in its flat hiss while you lay the cloth and press the corners with stone. The sound holds steady, then softens, then settles into the fabric, a thin thread in the weave, quiet as dust lying down. From the thin shade you set with cloth and stone, you walk a short way into open ground and let the wind fall to a warm hiss behind your ears. Dust lies low, then lifts again, and the smell of hot sand rises until it tastes like chalk at the back of your mouth. The rope rides across your palm where the twist has polished smooth. Heat lies heavy on your back and settles there without hurry. You stop where the surface reads clean and flat, clear of prints, and you draw the stick from your belt the way you would lift a tool from a quiet room you trust. You kneel and press the stick into sand until wood finds firm hold. Grain shows in the shaft where your hand wore it down over other days like this. You smooth the ground around it with your palm, so the shadow will write a simple line. The air smells like hot chalk and salt. You stop to read the short shadow of your stick and correct the line by a hand's width. The pole's tip taps twice, a crisp motif as you set the angle sure and true. You lay a cord from the stick across the pale surface and let the short line meet the thread. The touch is small but clear, as if wood and fiber knew each other's plan. You place a stone at the cord's end, smooth its seat with your fingers, and set a second stone a little farther on. The first heat of noon sits like a wide hand between your shoulders. It is steady, not cruel, but it asks for clean work. Wind drags a skin of dust across your boots, and then lets it fall, thin as cloth pulled and folded and laid down. You slide a knot on the counting cord to hold this check in your body. The cord smells of skin and dust. It has the quiet of a tool that does not change. You take one mouthful of water from a skin, hold it on your tongue so the cool can stay, then swallow. The lip of the skin is cool and smells of tanned hide. Behind you, a cousin mutters inside his cloth and moves, then stills. Farther off, a neighbor coughs once, a dry sound that does not ask for reply, and the wind answers both with its flat hiss. You pick up the short pole that rides on the lead frame and lay its tip in the groove you scratched at dawn. The groove faded over low rises. Now you press its edge with your heel to bring it back. The pole's weight is plain in your hand, honest wood, warm where the sun found it. You sight along the cord and lay the pole so its line kisses the stones you set. The tip touches sand twice again, 2 crisp points, and the sound sits in the noon stillness like a small mark in a margin. You carry the first stone forward by 3 paces and seat it anew. Your fingers learn the heat on its top and the cool on its bottom at the same time. A second stone follows, then the cord, then your palm to smooth the face. Sand slides under your hand and leaves a thin scent of hot dust. Cloth at your neck scratches and then grows kind as sweat softens the weave. The wind's hiss stays level. Your shoulders hold the weight of light and do not fight it. You let the heat settle the way you let a rope settle under load. You check the loads while the shadow stands short and honest. A strap chews at a corner of cloth. You brush it flat and tie it so the edge will not cut. A trunk board complains. You set a wedge of wood under the frame to stop the sway. Wool rubs wood, then quiets. You lift a small bowl, shaded under a fold, and pour a spoon's worth of water for cracked lips. The water smells clean, and the bowl's rim cools your fingers. You cover it and listen to the plain world. Rope against rope, dust under sandals, wind on sand. And somewhere a lazy fly that gives up the fight and settles. You bring your eye and thumb to the sun again, the old hand-width trick you do not speak about. It is only a shape your body knows. With that small guide, you ease the head by a hand's width, so the new line meets the first stone. The rope tells you the move was right. It grows lighter, then even. You fold the counting cord back into your belt and smooth a little patch of sand with the flat of your hand. The stick's shadow holds close to its foot now, short and blunt, a simple truth you can put inside your walk. You taste dry bread from a crumb you find in your pouch, and the salt speaks just enough to clear your mouth of dust. Leather smells strong where the strap crosses your chest. Heat brings every scent forward and makes them plain. Wool, hide, wormwood, chalk from the ground. You dampen your thumb and pull a knot tight on a water skin so it will not drip. The knot sits neat and low, and your thumb comes away with the taste of hide. The wind drags over the cloth you set for shade and lifts one corner before the stone settles it again. You lift the stick a finger's width and set it deeper, so the next gust will not trouble it. The shaft is warm and dry in your hand. Dust bumps the back of your glove as a small swirl passes and then vanishes, as if the sand had a thought and then forgot it. You bring the rope around your wrist, not tight, only enough to hold the head while you check the angle. The two stones shine pale. Their faces throw light back at your eyes like dull metal. You shade your face with your hand and read the short line once more, and the two clean clicks from the pole belong to that reading. You kneel to press a shallow groove along the new angle, using a peg of wood to draw the path. The peg rolls grit into the sides and leaves a soft dune of dust along the edge. Your palm burns a little where the ground holds heat. You lift it, and the memory of warmth stays in your skin. You pack the loose ridge down with your fingers until the groove holds its shape. Wind lays a thin film of sand across it and then gives it back. The hiss runs on, and you let it, because plain sounds ask nothing from you. You bring the lead close and rest the rope across your forearm while you place the cord along the groove to be sure nothing drifts. The cord's fiber tugs at your skin and leaves tiny marks you like. They will fade by evening. You pull one knot and let it sit. The body remembers that pull even when the mind drifts. A camel sighs through its nose and drops its head for a moment to shade its mouth under its jaw. Hide carries a warm, clean smell that mixes with salt from your own work and a little ash that never left your scarf since the last fire. The heat presses harder, but the line is right, and that makes the weight fair. You move the first stone once more, just a little, and plant it with care. Press, twist, settle. Your fingers learn the grain of its face and the way one corner wants to slide if you push wrong. You correct, and it holds. You stand and level the pole toward it, and then toward the second stone. Two small clicks at the tip tell you the pole met true ground. You drink one mouthful by count, the same count as before, and close the skin. The rim is cool for a second on your lip. The taste stays flat and safe. You look out and do not search far. The wide place offers nothing you need. The mark you made offers enough: cord, groove, stone, stick, and shadow. The shadow is shortest now, and honest in a strict way. It gives no comfort and tells no story beyond straight and near. You accept that rule. You gather the cord, coil it like a small rope on your palm, and tuck it home. A dog skims the line of shade and lies under a frame until the wind shifts. Then it leaves without sound and becomes part of the ground again. You return the stick to its pocket on the frame and tie it with a small loop of cloth. The cloth is warm and smells of sun and oil from your hands. You run your palm over the wood rim of the lamp's bowl, though you will not need it until dark. The rim is smooth, and a faint ring of old oil makes your fingers shine. You check that the bowl sits where dust will not fill it. The rope across your palm wants to move again. You feel that want and let it wait. The hiss finds the cloth edge and plays a low note on it, then lets go. You stand with the head and count the new reach in your body before you move. Your shoulder holds the light, your back holds the load, your hand holds the rope, and your eye holds the groove. You call the line with a small lean and a touch on the cheek strap. The animal answers, calm and sure. The stones you set make a pale chain that will carry you to the next small patch of shade. Heat lies heavy. Chalk and salt touch your tongue. Dust paints your scarf in a soft film. You pause one last time at the stick, read the short, honest shadow, and let the pole give its two crisp touches to close the check. The sound hangs, exact and plain, then falls quiet into the glare, into the smell of hot sand and hide. into the low hiss of wind, and into the groove you pressed with wood and the patience of your hands. From the short, honest shadow you read at noon, you carry the line forward into light that flattens the world. Stones you set lie behind like quiet thoughts you will not chase. Sand turns bright, and glare makes distance look close and then far in the same glance. You keep your eye on the groove you pressed and on the cord at your wrist. The rope warms your palm. Heat sits on your back like a full cloth. The counting cord slides again, its tiny rasp a steady hint that your body understands. Old prints appear where the ground goes powder soft, a loose braid of ovals and drag marks that cross your path at an angle. They look fresh from a distance, then fade when you near, as if the light itself wiped them out. You do not follow. Your rule sits in your hand, not in signs the wind drew for strangers. The cord rubs the soft skin at your wrist and makes that small rasp again. You tilt a water skin and wet your mouth once, leather cool on lip, taste flat and safe. You take a dry apricot from a cloth fold at your belt and hold it on your tongue. The fruit wakes a thin sweetness under the salt that dust lays on your teeth. The world grows less sharp for a few moments, then settles true. Camel hair brushes your sleeve and leaves a warm, clean smell that rides the heat without fight. A cousin mutters under his scarf and drops back into rhythm. The cord slides a finger's width. Its faint rasp marks a reach you will carry the same as the last. The track line you do not trust breaks into islands across a hard patch where sand has crusted and set. On that skin, the prints swell and narrow, then vanish into glare that blinds the shallow eye. You lean the head toward the groove you made at dawn, give it a patient hand, and feel the rope go light, then even. Wind moves along the frames and brings the smell of hot wood and old oil. The cord glides against your wrist bone. The small rasp is calm and dry, like a file kissed once and put away. You pass a bowed scatter of dung, pale and light as old bark. It will serve the noon fire later, but not now. Now it is a landmark only for hunger or haste, and you will choose neither. Your heel presses the groove's near edge to keep it plain when the glare tries to erase it. Cloth at your neck scratches, then grows kind as sweat loosens the weave. The counting cord slides again. The tiny rasp tells your shoulder to keep the same pull, not more, not less. Far off, a cloud of finer dust lifts, shaped by a wind you do not feel yet. Between you and that blur, the ground holds a confusion of thin lines where tails and rope ends once wrote. You watch your own path, not theirs. A neighbor coughs behind a frame and stops. You move your thumb along the rope, find a worn place smooth as a river stone, and rest there. Dry apricot breaks in your cheek. The taste is bright for a blink and then fades to soft grain. The cord lowers another knot's distance with its small, honest rasp. You check the head's angle with the old measure in your hand, thumb at horizon, open fingers reading the sun. You do not say numbers. You let muscle and eye agree and call that enough. Sand lifts and falls at your boots like smoke with weight. It slides into the seams and lies there with a cool pinch. You ease a strap that begins to chew, slide a cloth under it, and tie it low. Rope on your palm feels rough and right. The cord glides. The faint rasp is the day's dry music. A tangle of camel prints blows across yours, deep where a foot sank, shallow where light cut them thin. For a moment your sight wants to walk their bend. You do not let it. You look down and read the groove, then up to the next pale stone, then to the place where the stone will be when you move it forward. Leather smells strong where a strap crosses your chest. It warms with the sun and speaks of animal and tanner and time. The cord answers your next count with that same small rasp that says continue. You come to a hard flat where salt has risen and dried in a plate. The surface rings in your joints with each pace, not loud, just present, like wood set proper on stone. Tracks here fan and fade until they look like cracks in fired clay. You lift the rope hand a little so the head will not nose the brittle edge. A dog without a name drifts along the shade under a frame and lies down, then leaves. The cord moves its tiny measure, and the rasp touches your ear like a whisper of sand under cloth. A warm draft brings the smell of dung you banked for cooking. It is faint and earthy and goes at once. You draw out a small piece of bread, chew slow, and let salt sit in the mouth until dust steps back. You think for one dry instant that even dust keeps honest accounts. A short wedge of wood at a rattling board needs a push. Your fingers press it home, and the sound goes away. The cord slides. The rasp is even, a thin thread that holds the morning to the afternoon. Wind sets its hand on the surface and makes low ripples that run under your line. They look like water, but they are sand and time. Your rope tells you more than your eyes. The pull lives straight in your shoulder, not dragging left, not tugging right. The head keeps its quiet hum under the leather. Wool rubs wood and makes a soft murmur that stays near the ear. The counting cord moves across your wrist again. The rasp is patient, and the only clock you trust here. Faint marks of wheels appear and vanish, two pale lanes wandering and then breaking apart where dunes climbed, then fell. Someone once guessed that way. The glare eats their story. You wet your tongue from a skin, close it fast, and let the cool sit like a coin under your lip. The stick in its pocket taps your arm with the sway, not a sign, only a touch that says it is there for the next shadow check. The cord slides. The rasp keeps you, and you keep the line. Heat holds the back of your neck and shoulders like a steady hand. You shade your eyes with a palm and see your own skin coated in fine dust, the color of the ground. Sand squeaks once under a frame where it finds wood, then falls quiet. Apricot is gone from the mouth now. The taste that stays is bread and salt and a little hide from the skin. The counting cord answers another reach with its dry, short rasp, a sound small as a moth wing and just as sure. You move a pale stone that once marked morning and set it again for later. Press, twist, settle. Your fingers learn the heat on top and the cool below, the grit that sits in lines across your skin. The groove needs a rub where glare erased its edge. Your heel writes it back, steady and slow. A cousin passes a frayed thong forward without words. You tuck it for mending its shade. The cord glides and rasps, and that sound holds in your ear while your hand finds the rope's old twist. Wild tracks cross again, wide and strange, like a herd or a hard day that scattered a line. You let them pass from your eye as if they were a story told to someone else. Your story is rope to palm, cord to wrist, stone to sand, water to bowl, bread to mouth. Camel hair brushes your sleeve. The smell is clean and warm, the way hay might be in another season you cannot see from here. The cord slides with its small rasp, and the world narrows to a piece of ground you can hold. At a rise, glare turns the near and far into one white sheet. You look only as far as your groove and the stone you set. You guide the head by touch, feel the animal lean and then level. A strap knocks a peg and stops when you press it flat. Dust gathers at the corners of your eyes. You wipe it with the back of a knuckle and carry on. The counting cord slips its measure. The rasp returns like a thin line drawn on wood that no heat can burn away. You take a mouthful from the skin and let the water spread slow over tongue and teeth. It tastes of leather and a small smoke that lives in the neck. Your mouth thanks it and then asks for nothing else. The wind hisses low at your back and pushes a fine veil of sand ahead of your toes. The lamp's bowl on the frame shows a dull ring of old oil. You touch its rim and let it be. The cord moves. The rasp rests in the same place in your ear each time, and that sameness is mercy. The line of prints you do not trust fades for good, where the ground turns to a tight, wind-polished crust. You are glad to see them go because they ask, and you have to refuse. You pull the scarf lower across your mouth and taste cloth and salt. The rope warms your palm until it feels like part of you. A neighbor coughs once more and clears it. Then the caravan returns to wool and hide and sand, the quiet syllables of the day. The cord slides its last short length for this reach. The raspy tick is the page edge that tells you when to turn. You see your next mark, a patch of low stones where shade will stand for a little while. The groove leads you there without pride. You let the rope rest across your forearm, loosen one strap, and reach for the pole you will set. The apricot's memory still lifts the mouth by a grain. The air smells of hot chalk and salt. The taste is work and fair water. The counting cord lies against your wrist, warm now, its fibers a little rough from use. When it slides once more and gives that tiny rasp, you let the sound stay, a small file on the edge of a long day, a quiet reminder to believe your steps and nothing else. From the faint rasp of the cord and the glare that wiped old prints thin, you carry the line toward a pale floor that waits without shade. The ground changes under your eye first, then under your heel. Sand gives way to a tight skin that throws light back like dull metal. You lower the rope a little and test the surface with weight. You step onto pale ground that rings under boot heel. The crust cracks with soft snaps, your careful motif for this stretch. The light burns white. The air tastes sharp, like stone after rain that never came. You hold the rope in the warm groove your palm knows and keep the head steady. The skin of salt shows fine lines like threads pulled through cloth, neat and endless, then broken and joined. When your heel settles, the plate answers with a thin, quick sound you feel in the bones of your ankle. The soft snaps begin to count for you, not loud, not many, just regular enough to match your slow stride. Dust rises as a dry breath from the cracks and hangs at knee height, clean and bitter at the back of your tongue. You pull the scarf close, and the taste of leather and old smoke sits there, calm and familiar. You guide the line by the groove you scratched before the flats, and by the small stones you carry forward one by one. Sun presses on your shoulders like a loaded cloth, wide and steady. Camel hair brushes your sleeve and leaves a warm, grassy smell that lifts against the salt. A cousin mutters somewhere behind wool and wood, finds his pace again, and gives no more sound. A neighbor coughs once and lets the air rest. Under it all, the crust whispers open with soft snaps, a quiet pattern, careful and true. You check the loads as you move across the hard plate. A strap shows a thin shine where it rubs. You slide a folded cloth under it and smooth the edge so it will not cut. Wood under the frame warms to the sun and gives a low, dry creak that stops when your hand settles its weight. You touch the lamp's bowl with 2 fingers and feel the old oil ring, tacky and safe under dust. Water rides under shade. The skin's neck smells of tanned hide and faint ash. Your tongue asks, and you give it only a sip by count. The crust answers each heel with the same soft snaps, a careful clock for the hour. The light here refuses shape. It washes the world until near and far feel equal. Shadows pull close to the camel's legs and lie small and honest under them, squares and ovals that do not wander. You sight along your thumb to the sun and move the head by a hand's width. Rope weight lightens in your palm as the angle turns right. Sand would have swallowed your marks by now. This plate keeps them if you write with care. You draw a shallow scratch with a peg of wood, and the groove holds, thin and white as dry chalk. Your heel finds it, and the soft snaps turn from guess to guide. The smell changes by degrees that your nose learns before your mind. Warm hide and wool ride with you. Salt lifts under everything, clean and cutting, like stone washed and dried 100 times. Your mouth grows tight along the teeth. You press a dry apricot between tongue and palate until the faint sweet cuts the edge of the taste. Bread from your pouch comes next, plain and mild, salted by work, softened with patience. You drink one measured mouthful and let it sit long enough to quiet the corners of your jaw. The crust cracks with soft snaps and gives back your calm in small, even pieces. Your sandals carry a new voice here. Leather meets salt and speaks through your feet in a thin ring you hear more in your bones than with your ear. The animals feel it too. Their weight settles a touch slower, and their pads slide less than on sand. A stray dog ghosts along the shade of a frame, pauses to lick a drop clinging to a strap, then moves on and becomes a low gray line in the glare. A bird crosses so high it has no shadow to read, only a dark fleck in white. The soft snaps continue under you, faithful as a rope you made with your own hands. You shift skins across a frame so weight lies fair, then press a wedge of wood tight to still a soft rattle you hear when the crust rings louder. The wedge smells faintly of resin and sun, a memory from a tree you cannot name in this bright place. You test a knot with a damp thumb and taste hide when you draw it away. Cloth at your neck soaks and cools, then dries and warms again, steady as the measure you keep. The counting cord slides along your wrist. Its small rasp is lost for a moment under the flat's thin ring, then returns, and the two sounds sit together like two threads in one weave. You move a pale stone to the front and set it on the plate. It skids a thumb's breadth and stops. Your fingers learn both faces at once. The heat of the top, the surprising cool of the bottom. You twist and press until it seats. You smooth a little collar of salt around its base, a ring the wind will not take until you have passed. Sun burns white on the stone and on the bowl hanging from the frame. You shade the bowl with cloth and feel the cloth warm as if it were taking on your share of the day. The soft snaps of the crust keep your attention low and close, away from glare and far guesses. Here and there the plate has broken and curled at the edges. You step over the thin lips and carry the head along the firm face. Where a curl lifts too high, you lay it down with the flat of your hand and listen. The plate answers like thin wood placed on a hollow box, a round, small ring that fades at once. Dust lives in the seams and blows when your fingers brush it. The taste in the air is sharper again. You meet it with another careful sip, counted and fair. Your hand returns to the rope, and the crust provides the next soft snaps without being asked. You do not look for old tracks. The salt kept some. Wind erased others. They are stories that do not belong to you. You carry your own. Rope, cord, stone, water, bread, wood, dust, cloth. Your eye keeps the groove and the next stone. Your mind keeps the order of small tasks. Shift, tie, brush, fold, settle. A cart far behind gives a low wooden note and then holds. A cousin hums so softly under his scarf you could doubt it if not for the change in his shoulders. The soft snaps under you hold their place, the only music you need. When the plate tightens and grows smoother, you find your heel sliding less and rising clean. The clean rise sends a chill through your soul in the small pause before weight returns. You meet it by spreading the load across knee and hip and letting your shoulders stay loose. Heat lies on your back, like a thick cloak you chose and cannot take off until evening. You do not fight it. You use it to slow your thoughts and make each motion plain. The crust cracks with soft snaps, while you lay your calm on the day, the way a cloth lies flat on a table. Not far ahead, a run of the plate has sunk and hardened into a shallow bowl. The surface there shows a map of dried streams that never formed. They point nowhere and everywhere, white on white. You skirt the bowl by a narrow rim you test with your hand first. The salt flakes under your fingers like old paint, thin and light, and leaves a grit line under your nails. You taste that grit when you wipe your lip with the back of your wrist. It is clean, almost bitter, a lesson without voice. You add one small stone to the rim for those who walk behind. It may be gone in a day, but it helps today. The soft snaps carry you around and back to your groove. You let a crumb of humor pass. The sun keeps a ledger stricter than any trader and charges interest on every careless sip. The thought is dry and brief and leaves no mark. You close the skin and tuck it deep under cloth. The bowl on the frame stays shaded. The lamp rides quiet. The rope hums against your palm with its old low song. Camel hair touches your wrist. The smell is warm and right, the earth of it softened by heat. The plate sings small and true when your heel meets it, and the soft snaps underline each line of the march. At the far edge of the flat, the salt thins, and the crust begins to lose its strength. You feel it first. Heel sinks a finger's depth, then rises, then sinks again. The ring dulls. The soft snaps grow farther apart. You bring the head a hand's width toward firmer ground where sand shows through in pale islands. You press the near edge of your groove with your boot to keep the line honest as shape returns to the world. A breeze moves across the plate and lifts a fine powder that tastes like stone and old rain. The bowl under cloth knocks wood once and then quiets. You lower the rope across your forearm and set one final stone where the hard ground gives back to sand. The stone sits half in white, half in gold, a small sign to the rear that the surface changes here. You wipe your palm on your shirt and leave a print of salt and dust in a pattern. Your cloth learns and keeps until evening. You ease a strap, brush grit from a girth, and lift the counting cord to slide one knot by feel. Water waits under shade for the next pause. Bread sits simple in your pouch for the next slow hunger. The plate's last answer is a thin, clean ring. The crust gives one more soft snap. Then the sound fades into the hush of sand, into wool and leather, into the honest pull of rope, and the white glare softens to the known color of ground you can carry forward. From the last thin ring of the crust and the soft return of sand, you choose a low place where wind slides past and leaves the ground simple. You uncoil the rope from your wrist and let the head ease to a halt. Heat still lies on your back, but the light begins to soften at the edges. You clear a circle with your palm until the surface feels even and cool in the skin of it. You lay a small ring of stones and burn dry dung that smells faint and earthy. The flame makes a soft sigh. That small sigh is tonight's motif. You feed the first pieces slowly, holding each pat close to the coal until it takes. Smoke curls thin and brown, sweet in a plain way and does not sting. The stones warm and carry their heat into your hands when you shift them tighter. A cloth windbreak sits low, pegged with short stakes that you press into sand with the heel of your palm. Fire answers by settling, and the soft sigh evens out. Wool and leather relax around you. The long day loosens its grip as if the ground itself exhaled, then grew still. You lift the lamp from its wrap and set it near the ring, more comfort than need, its bowl sticky from old oil. Wood on the frame creaks as weight comes off. You ease 2 straps, then a third, and fold blankets back so heat can leave the hides. The smell close to you is warm and good. Dung smoke, clean camel hair, a note of tanned skin from the water neck. You fill a small bowl and set it by the fire to take the chill away. The flame answers your work with that same soft sigh, steady as cloth drawn over wood. You spread a strip of cloth where you will sit, then your knees, then your tools, and all a thong, a short needle with rough thread, a little oil in a stoppered horn. Grit clings to your fingertips and turns slick where sweat meets dust. You wipe it on your sleeve and feel the scratch of cloth, honest and useful. A cousin mutters in a blanket near the frame and turns once. Farther off, a neighbor coughs, a dry scrap of sound that falls into the quiet and stays there. The fire keeps its easy sigh and makes a thin line of heat across your face. You check the loads before food. A strap shows a hard shine. You brush a cloth under it and tie the corners with even pulls so no edge will cut. A peg works loose. You seat a wedge of wood and press the frame until it lies true. The lamp's bowl warms in your hand and leaves oil on your palm. It smells like seed and smoke and brings a small memory of older nights. A dog with pale ears skirts the light, looks for crumbs that are not here, and moves on without sound. The fire sighs, always the same length, like a quiet reed in a slow wind. You open the skin and pour by count into the warmed bowl. The lip touches your mouth. The water smells of tanned hide and a faint shadow of ash. The taste is flat and safe. You share a measure into a bronze cup for another hand. Metal kisses stone with a soft ring and then cools. Bread breaks under your thumb with a dry edge. You dip it and wait, patient, until it softens and holds the warm water. Salt edges your tongue and feels right. The sigh from the fire drifts across your cheek and keeps your thoughts level. You mix a small pot of grain with water and set it by the stones, where heat will not rush it to ruin. It thickens slowly, a calm task for a calm hour. You stir with a stick and smell clean steam, not strong, not sweet, only grain made softer. You tear a strip of cloth to hold the pot's rim and keep the burn from your fingers. A fox calls from far ground, one soft bark that does not ask for you. A beetle scratches near the ring and disappears. The fire sighs again, and the evening takes shape the way a blanket takes the shape of the body under it. You bring the counting cord from your belt, shake dust from it, and coil it in a neat spiral by your knee. The knots press small moons into your palm, then fade. You slide the day's bead back to its home, and feel the little jump as it finds place. No sound needed now. You set the sun stick beside the lamp and wipe the grit from its tip with the edge of a sleeve. Wood grain runs straight and fine under your fingers. Smoke leans and changes its line when the wind turns a finger's width, then settles again. The fire answers with its soft sigh, the hour's true sound. You rub a line of oil into a dry strap and smooth it with the heel of your hand until the leather darkens. Your skin takes a small drink of the oil too. It smells faintly of seed and summer. You thread the needle and mend a loose tie where a knot chewed thin. The thread pulls through with a sandy whisper and lies flat when you flatten it with your thumb. You move a stone on the ring and feel heat in the skin of your palm, hot on top, cool below, learned in a single touch. The flame lifts, dies down and sighs, a measured even thing that keeps you company. You lay out your blanket near the low side of the fire, away from sparks, on ground you smoothed earlier with your palm. Your blanket feels scratchy and warm. It holds the day's dust as if it were part of the weave. You fold a rolled cloth for a narrow pillow and test its height with your neck. A cool draft touches your face from the dark beyond the ring and carries a pale salt you taste on your lip. The animals settle near, their soft weight making quiet hollows in the sand. The fire lets out that steady sigh and draws a thin thread of comfort from your chest to the stone ring. You eat a small bowl of grain, no hurry in it. The spoon is wood, smooth from years of mouth and water and hand. The taste is plain and soft, with a hint of smoke and a pinch of salt that teaches the tongue to be patient. You chew until the food disappears without sound. You wipe the spoon with a corner of cloth and rest it by the bowl. Somewhere at the edge, a small rodent rustles in the powder near the grain sacks and then freezes. Your ear notes it, then lets it go. The fire sighs, and the coals breathe light without a word being said. You take one last measured drink and close the skin. The tie creaks and sits, snug and low. You check the bowl for a last pour if a dry mouth asks at midnight. You set it under a cloth by the stones. Your hands smell of wool and oil and sweet smoke. The smell clings and warms. You press a palm over the lamp's mouth to lay the wick down. The little flame bows and goes dark, and the bowl stays warm. The larger flame holds, quiet as a thought that refuses to fade. Its soft sigh is the roof of this night. You draw the blanket over your shoulders and let your body find the hollows you made. Sand supports your hip, then your ribs, then your shoulder as if it had been carved for you. Cloth scratches and soothes at once. Your face stays cool in the small draft that slips along the ground. It tastes of dust, like chalk rubbed thin. A cousin shifts once and makes a low sound, then stills. The animals chew slowly, a dry, steady rhythm that blends with the fire's thin sigh until both become one long thread. You close your eyes and keep a mind on small things. The rope coiled near your hand, the stick tied to the frame, the bowl half hidden under cloth, the stone ring built low and tight, the shoes turned on their sides so sand will not fill them, the cord coiled neat and quiet. These are rooms inside the dark, outlined by touch, ready for the morning. The fire sighs again and again, fading and returning, always soft, always even. You let that sound hold the edges of the camp while the draft keeps your face cool and clean. When the last chores finish themselves inside your head, you do not chase them. You lie still and feel the blanket grow warm in a slow spread from chest to feet. The ring of stones holds heat and offers it to the air. The heat drifts and lies down like a resting animal. Smoke runs low and sweet, and the smell of dung fire becomes simple earth. The flame lifts and sinks and lifts, each time with that quiet sigh. It hangs at the edge of the night, gentle and sure, until even the sound turns soft as cloth, and the scratch of your blanket is all that remains. From the fire's low sigh and the scratch of your blanket, you ease your shoulders free and sit up in the cool. Ash glows under the small ring of stones, and gives a faint sweet smell that mixes with wool and leather. Night holds the camp like a bowl. Cloth rubs your neck as you pull your scarf close. You lift the stick from its place on the frame and feel dry grain under your palm, straight and sure. Sand under your knees feels cold and smooth where you cleared it. Far down the line, the bell answers once, a thin silver note in the dark. You walk a little way from the low light so the sky will show you its clean face. The air tastes cold and simple, like stone washed and left to dry. You stand where the ground lies even and press your heels in to know it holds. Camel shapes rest behind you, warm in their own shade. One shifts, and hair brushes wood with a soft hush. You lift a straight stick and line it with a bright star near the rim of the sky. Your hand finds the stillness it learned from many nights. The bell's single ring runs the length of the camp and fades. You watch the star as if it were a nail holding the night. Your thumb slides along the stick until the point sits true. You mark the place where the line falls to sand and smooth the patch with your palm so the sign will stay. Dust smells dry and clean when your hand moves. Camel breath steams beside you and drifts across your sleeve. It leaves a damp warmth that cools at once. Leather near your cheek remembers sun, but now holds the chill. You set a small stone on the mark so wind will not steal it. The bell is quiet, as if it too watches. You tie a cord to the stick with a low knot and pull the cord straight toward the star's ground point. The cord lies rough and cool across your hand. You feel the twist of fiber like a small road under your skin. A cousin turns in his blanket and mutters, then settles again. A neighbor coughs, short and dry, then lets the night own the silence. You press a second stone at the cord's end and draw a thin groove beside it with a peg. Wood on sand whispers. The line shows pale. Far off, the bell gives one soft answer, quick and clean, then still. You shield the lamp for a moment with your body and coax a low flame to check the groove. The bowl warms your fingers and smells of old oil and smoke. You do not let the light rise. You only ask it to show the shine of stone and the shallow cut your peg made. You close the lamp and place it back in cloth. Your eyes heal to the dark. Stars surge like seeds thrown wide. The cold lifts the skin on your forearms. Camel breath rolls again by your shoulder, gentle and damp at first, then thin and gone. The bell does not speak. It waits. You bring the head to the new mark and touch the cheek strap with 2 fingers. Hide feels cool, then warms where your hand rests. The animal leans the way you ask and stops when you stop. You check a strap, tie a loose end, and brush a small grit line from a girth so it will not cut. Cloth rasps softly. The sound dies near your hand. You slide a knot on the counting cord so your body will remember this start when the mind floats. The cord smells of skin and dust and a little smoke from the day. Behind you, a dog noses a bowl and gives up. The bell answers once from the lead and draws a fine silver line through the dark. You lift the rope and lean into the night. Sand underfoot turns firm, then soft, then firm again. Your soles read it better than your eyes do. The star sits where you left it, near the rim, slow in its move, not yet a problem. You keep it above the stick in your head as you guide the rope. Cold air tastes bright on your tongue, and your teeth ache a little, then grow quiet. Wool brushes your sleeve when a flank eases near and gives a warm smell like clean hay. The bell is far now, not loud, but enough to tell you the line holds. You share a small mouthful of water with yourself, and with the near mouth that seeks the bowl. The lip of the skin is cold. It tastes of tanned hide and a smoke you boiled into it at last fire. You count in your chest for a fair pour, then seal the tie. Steam lifts from the camel's nose and touches your wrist before it goes thin. The lamp stays dark. The sky is your room now. You move another stone forward, press it firm, and feel cold on top and a store of day warmth below. The bell once more, a silver thread that finds you and passes on. You read the earth by sound and weight, rope to palm, cloth to cheek, wood to sand. The night writes with quiet, a low rub of leather, a small creak from a board that needs a wedge tomorrow, a faint patter of dust sliding from a strap you shook clean. Your tongue holds the taste of salt and clean water. Your lungs hold the cold, but you do not name it. You carry it like a tool. The star rides slowly. When it sinks a little, you mark it and plan to pick a new one in time. The bell keeps its neat distance. An answer you do not call for, but accept. You pause to reset the stick and the cord when the ground rolls and your eye asks for proof. You line the stick with the same bright point, now a touch lower. Your thumb sets the end where it belongs. You smooth the sand, lay the cord, and press the peg. The groove glows pale in starlight, thin as chalk. You move a stone, press, twist, settle. A rat troubles the grain sacks at the edge of camp. The sound is a dry scrabble and stops when a cousin shifts in his sleep. The bell gives one light ring and shows you your own calm in the sound. You change your guide star when the first one sinks into a thin band of haze. You do it without rush. You lift the stick. Let your eye choose another bright point a hand's width above the rim and draw a new ground kiss with the cord. These are small rooms inside the night, made with wood, stone, and a finger's press. The cold leans in harder. Your scarf holds it off your neck and mouth. Your fingers grow slow, then quick again as they find the rope and the old grooves of the work. The bell keeps its silver color, faint and clean, never sharp. You think of the bowl under cloth by the fire, still warm, and the ring of stones that holds the last of day inside it. That place is near, yet far enough to matter. The smell of dung smoke lingers in your scarf like a quiet friend. You guide the head along the new line and feel your feet carry the count in even folds. The animals accept the dark the way they accept wind and heat. They hold and go. Ice needles form on a shallow puddle in a hoofprint and shine like a small field of shards. Your eye sees it and lets it pass. The bell answers once more. A thin coin of sound you pocket without looking. You rest the rope over your forearm and rub your palms together to wake feeling. Skin stings, then warms. You pour a mouthful, just one, and tuck the skin deep under wool. Water tastes flat and safe, better than any sweet wood in this hour. You mend a thong that began to fray. Your teeth hold the end while your hands tie. The knot sits clean. You let the cord slide one knot so your body will know how far the night has given you. A fox calls from far sand. One neat sound, then silence. The bell carries its small answer, a reply that belongs to your line alone. You look up again and choose a star closer to the point you will keep before dawn. The stick lifts and settles. The cord runs straight. The groove holds. The stone agrees. Your hands learn all of it without talk. Cold air tastes like iron left in water, clean and thin. Camel breath clouds once more beside your sleeve. It dampens the cloth, then leaves it crisp. You place your palm on warm hide and feel life push back, slow and steady. The bell speaks once, soft as water on metal, and the note sits in your ear while you turn the rope in your hand. You move until your count says stop, then you stop. You press the stick deeper for the last check of this watch, and let the star fix the line one more time. The ground under your fingers keeps the chill of night. The sand slips and settles, and the smell is like cold stone ground fine. You leave 2 stones to hold the morning's first look. You stand, fold your scarf down from your mouth, and taste air plain and raw. Behind you, a cousin turns in his blanket. A dog sighs and shifts under a frame. The bell answers once from the lead, far and silver, and that thin note holds steady in the dark, while you walk the rope back to camp, hands warm now, eyes full of stars. The night line drawn and ready to carry the day. From the star line you drew, and the bell's thin note that followed you back. The gray before color settles on the camp like cool cloth. Ash lies under the stone ring, faintly warm, and the smell of last night's dung smoke hangs low and sweet. Sand holds the cold close to its skin. Cloth is stiff where your shoulder met it. You move a hand toward the bowl you left under a fold and feel the bite of air on your fingers, a clean sting that wakes them without hurry. You find a thin skin of ice on the water bowl and feel stiff knots under your fingers. The rim is colder than you expect. Wood takes that cold and gives it to your palm. Your breath sounds soft in the still air, a hush that stays near your scarf and does not carry. You lift the bowl and watch the light crawl into the frost. A tiny crack runs across the surface, quick and silent. You set the bowl down and rub your hands together until skin warms and listens again. You kneel and look for living coals under the stones. Ash whispers over your knuckles. It smells like earth made kind by fire. One coal glows when you brush it with a twig. You feed it dry dung in thin pieces and wait while the flame finds its way. The first sigh turns to a low, steady thread and lays a little heat against your face. Cloth near your throat loosens, then settles. The day is still not ready to show its color, and that is good. Rope lies where you left it, pale and hard with cold. You take it up and learn each strand with your thumb. Fibers lift and then lie down. Knots feel like small stones pressed into your palm. They do not bend at first. You pull them close to the ember's breath and wait. Rope fibers creak a little as they bend, a wooden string motif for the first light. The sound is small, like a thin bow drawn once across an old instrument, and it settles the thought that the line will hold. You carry the stiff cord that keeps your count and slide the bead to test the run. Fiber bites the skin at your wrist and leaves a faint white mark that fills with color as blood returns. You lift the scarf away from your mouth so the cold can clean you. It tastes like iron and stone and sky. Your tongue touches salt left from last night's small food and feels ready for bread. A cousin mutters under his blanket and pulls cloth over his ear. Farther off, a neighbor coughs once and lets the quiet close again. You go to the animals and lay a hand on a warm neck. Hair has a thin crust of frost near the top. It melts when your skin rests there. The smell is clean and grassy, simple and alive. A cloud rises from a nose and hangs for a moment, then turns to nothing and is gone. Leather on the cheek strap is hard at the edge. You work it between thumb and finger and feel it remember its shape. Wood on the frame answers your touch with a low sound that stops when weight sits right. You return to the bowl and lift it to the fire's side. The ice thins and shows your face in a dim, broken mirror. You tilt and pour into a smaller cup to warm the first sips. The cup smells of old bronze and smooth stone where it will sit. You taste water that holds a shadow of smoke, flat and safe. Bread from the cloth wrap is dry as a board. You dip a corner and wait. Grain loosens and grows soft in your mouth. Salt wakes your tongue but does not rise above its place. You check the loads by touch, more than sight. Cloth is stiff where dew found it. You brush the white film away with your sleeve. A strap has frozen into a shape that will chew a corner if you let it. You warm it against your palm until it yields and lies flat. Water skins feel heavy and honest. You test each tie and press each knot with a damp thumb to make it sure. Rope fibers creak a little as they bend and take their new day's place. The small wooden string sound threads through the cold. You lift the lamp and clean the rim with a fold of cloth. Oil has grown thick in the night. You coax a wick to stand and let it draw only a little, just enough to warm your hands while you mend a thong. The lamp gives off a soft oil smell that mixes with dung smoke and clean frost. Light touches the edge of your bowl and makes a low shine on wood. You lower the flame and hood it again. Night still owns the hour, and you do not argue with it. The counting cord slides under your palm when you bring it back to your belt. The bead clicks once against its knot and waits. Sand crunches under your knees where ice found it. The sound is small and close, as if the ground were whispering to itself. You fold a spare cloth, place it under your knees, and finish binding a strap you left loose on purpose to let heat out during the night. The cloth holds the cold until your weight warms it. The air tastes plain and thin. It clears the last smoke from your mouth. You take a moment for a dry apricot and one more small drink. Fruit is sharp and kind in the same mouthful. Water goes down with a cool line that makes you feel taller from inside, as if the bones made space for it. The bowl gives off a small swirl of steam that the first wind of the morning pushes aside. The wind is not much, only a hint that day will sit on this place soon. Rope fibers creak a little as you coil a length and lay it on the frame, and the sound draws a shape for the hour that is coming. You walk the few paces to the stick you left last night at the edge of camp and find frost white on its shadow line. You brush sand with your palm to see the groove again and feel how cold the ground keeps its secrets. The mark holds. You press 2 stones back into their seats and feel the heat left under them from the day before. You look up where the first color begins to show, only a stain, not a ribbon. Your face tingles at the cheeks. You pull the scarf higher and let the cloth smell like wool and sleep and old ash. A dog nosing at the ash finds a warm spot and turns 3 small circles before it lies down. A field rat troubles the grain sacks near the far frame and stops when a cousin shifts his blanket with a dull rustle. You listen to the camp speak in these light hands. Cloth moving, wood settling, dry sand under a heel, a rope drawn once across a peg. You join it by lifting a pole from the frame and setting it for shade you will not need yet, only to see that the lines will hold. The pole's end is cold metal in your hand, then only cold wood. You fold the blanket that kept your shoulders warm and shake the dust from it with 2 short lifts. Fibers catch the light that is not yet light. Your blanket feels scratchy and warm even after you take it from your back. You lay it under a cover against dew. Your fingers find a thorn caught in the weave. You pull it free and save it in a pouch because it makes a good pin when wood is too thick for an awl. The thorn smells faintly of dry sap. You hold it close for a breath and then put it away. You sit and oil a stiff strap with the heel of your hand, slow circles until the leather darkens and shines. The smell is clean, like seed in sun. You press the strap across a rounded stone and draw it tight so it will dry in a curve that matches the frame. The stone is smooth and cold. It holds its own small winter. Rope fibers creak a little as you bring a fresh loop to the strap and test the lay. The wooden string note pleases you more than any loud song would. It means the day can start without quarrel. You take your sandals and empty them. Frost shows along the seams where hot feet met cold sand and left a trace. You rub the leather against your palm until it gives up its stiffness. Your toes taste the air and curl once, then open. The ground is colder than the shoe, and cleaner than any water you will find today. You shake a line of dust from the laces and tie them snug. The knots feel honest. They will not argue with you later. You pour a fair share for each mouth that waits and keep the same count for your own. The bronze cup touches stone and makes a small ring that dies in the cloth of the morning. You sip and let the water rest behind your teeth before you swallow. It carries the faintest edge of smoke from the bowl and nothing else. Bread softens with a drop laid along its side. You hold it in your cheek and let it turn to food just by waiting. No rush helps anything here. You go one last time along the line and press loose sand away from girth and strap. Fingers feel the weave of cloth and the edges of seams where they rise. Hair clings to your skin and makes your palms smell like clean hay and warm animal. You check the lamp and close it. You tuck the bowl into its sleeve and tie it to the frame where it will ride quiet. You gather the rope and lay it across your forearm, not tight, only close, ready to be the day's first word. Color arrives slowly on the rim, thin as a vein in stone. The air stays cold, but not cruel. You look to the mark you left at night and see that it stands. Your body answers by growing tall inside its layers. Rope fibers creak a little as they bend when you lift the lead and tighten the first knot of morning. The wooden string sound carries across the hush and settles there, a thread in the cloth of first light. You let that sound hold while you count the first span in your mind and wait for the bell to speak. When the bell comes, it is small and sure, not bright like it was in the dark, but steady and near. You lift the rope and lean the head toward the new day. The bowl sits back by the ring of stones, thin, ice-broken, and shining like a handful of glass. Your hands feel ready for rope, cloth, wood, stone, dust, and water. Your mouth tastes bread and a line of salt. The rope gives one more soft creak as it settles into your palm. That wooden string note holds in the cold, and the morning opens to it, slow and plain, until the sound is part of the light itself. From the wooden string sound of the rope at first light, you carry the line toward a low swell in the ground where stone sits in a round, half buried by sand. The air turns cool as you near it, as if the earth kept a small cellar under open sky. Cloth brushes your neck when you stoop. Camel shapes gather in a loose crescent behind you. Wool breathes warm and clean. You lower a bucket and hear the rope whisper over the lip. The water yard waits quiet, and the sound folds into the morning like a thin thread laid straight. You steady the bucket with one hand and feed rope with the other, palm over palm, feeling the twist. The stone lip is cold and smooth, rubbed by many cords, and it prints a pale ring on your skin. Your mouth tastes dust and yesterday's salt. It asks without hurry. The rope runs light, then heavy, then light again when wood lifts clear. The bucket's soft thump is the gentle motif before you lift. It answers once from the dark throat below, soft and sure, and the sound travels up the rope into your fingers. You draw hand over hand and set the rim on the stone. Water laps the bucket mouth with a small hush. The smell is sweet and stony. It rises like cool smoke and touches your face. You sip from a palm to test it. Your tongue wakes at the first sip. It is not much, only what the body needs to remember itself. A cousin shifts his blanket near the camels and mutters. Farther off, a neighbor coughs one dry mark into the air and lets it rest. You lower the bucket again. The rope whispers over the lip. The soft thump returns and steadies the hour. You set a wooden trough and rinse it with a spare dip so dust will not ride the first pour. The board swells a little with the cold and gives a mild scent of old grain and sun. You tilt the bucket and count, letting water fall in a clean ribbon. The trough accepts it without splash. A muzzle finds the edge and pauses, warm air on your wrist, and then drinks slow, wise as an old worker. Hide smells grassy and good. Wool rubs wood and quiets. You pour again by the same count. Keep the same fairness. And hear the bucket's soft thump as you set it back to the stone. You fetch a small bowl and skim for yourself. The wood is cool against your lip. The taste fills your mouth like shade fills a room. Leather on your shoulder lightens. Your back answers by lengthening under the weight that is no longer there. You wet a cloth and wipe the dust from your face and neck. The cloth smells like clean water now, sweet and plain. You fold it and lay it on a stone to save it for later. You lower the bucket once more. The rope's whisper sits low in your ear. The soft thump returns from below and marks the rhythm of the work. A man from another line stands a little apart, with a basket at his feet, neither near nor far. He lifts a hand and then lets it fall, the kind of hello that does not trouble the morning. A child with him tips a small jar and listens to the hollow. No words cross. You raise the bucket, pour a fair share into their jar, and set 2 dates on the stone with your palm turned up. The basket gives a quiet rustle. A cloth weight touches your knuckles with thanks the wind carries away. The bucket rests. The soft thump on stone becomes the line between you. You open your own bag and lay out dates and a little grain for trade. The dates shine like small lamps in the pale light. They smell of warm sugar and dust. You press your thumb into one and feel the skin give, then pass it back into the cloth. Grain answers the hand with a soft hiss when you shift it from pouch to pouch. The sound is like sand made kind. You place a pinch of salt with it, not as payment, only as a good sign. The bucket's soft thump repeats each time you draw and settle. It keeps every small exchange calm and even. You tend the skins next. Each neck needs a touch of wet to clean grit before you pour. You tilt the bucket and count in your chest. 1 slow span, then 2, then close. Water smells sweet and stony even inside the leather. You test each tie with a damp thumb and smooth it down so no strand will chew at the knot. A strap creaks and then quiets. A dog with pale ears noses the ring of stones, finds shade on the far side of the well, and folds there, head on paws. The bucket's thump on the lip keeps your pace from wandering. You sit on your heels to mend a thong. Wood from the trough makes a low board smell, like bread once you bring heat to it, though there is no oven here, only sun and fire waiting. You draw the needle through hemp. It rasps soft and straight. The lamp bowl you cleaned last night warms in your palm where the sun finds it. A faint ring of old oil lifts to your skin. You set the bowl beside the bucket to dry. You lower and lift again. The ropes whisper over the lip, the soft thump below, the soft thump on stone. 3 small truths that line the hour. Grain for the animals goes into a shallow pan. A little, not much, only enough to make mouths glad. The smell is mild and good. You mix it with water and make a mash that shines like wet clay. A muzzle nudges your shoulder. You laugh inside without noise and hold the pan steady. The sound of eating is gentle and low. a soft grind that belongs in the morning. You take a date for yourself and hold it on your tongue until it melts. Sweet sits warm in your mouth, then fades. The bucket thumps on stone again and tells you the next pour is ready. You refill your own skins last. Fairness keeps order when things grow hard. Leather cools under your fingers. It lifts the smell of hide and the small smoke that once lived in it after a boil. You pour by the same measure each time. The cord from your counting string brushes your wrist. Its knots lie quiet now that the sun is up. You close each skin with a short twist and a low knot. The knot sits like a pebble where it should. The bucket's soft thump arrives again, the motif that keeps your hands from rushing and your mind from chasing the far ground. A goat you do not own wanders in from the edge of the light and looks at the trough, then moves on, hooves quiet on compact sand. A rat lifts a sack corner and drops it when you walk near. Its small body vanishes into the seam between two stones. A cousin, hair damp from a splash, carries a net of empty gourds to the far side and sets them in a row to dry. The wind turns and brings a faint whiff of dung smoke from some other camp you cannot see. The bucket thumps once more. The sound rests in the well mouth and climbs out like a soft ring. You count out dates for the road. 5 to the first bag, 5 to the next, 2 more into your belt fold to find later when salt speaks loud. You add a measure of grain to even a load. Feel the sack settle to the right side of the frame and pull the strap smooth over it. The cloth under the strap keeps the edge from cutting. You set the corners so they will not flap. You slide the last stone against the bucket's place to keep it from wandering and brush the lip clean with the back of your hand. The rope sighs across the lip as you pay out the final draw. The soft thump below affirms. The soft thump on stone closes the book. You take one last bowl for yourself and sit where shade from a low wall touches your ankles. The water tastes sweet and stony. It carries a promise that does not brag. Your teeth ache a little, then settle. You press a damp cloth across your neck and feel the cold make you patient. The camels shift and lean into harness that is not yet tight. Their smell is warm and right. You fold the cloth and tuck it away, rise without haste, and tie the skins high so they will ride without rubbing. Before you leave, you touch the well lip with your palm, a small thanks that needs no sound. Stone is cool still in the thin strip of shade. You pass a handful of grain to the man with the basket. He nods once and tips a tiny cup into your hand, a pinch of something that smells of dry leaf and clean spice. You open your pouch and let it fall, light as dust. No words move. The bucket lies quiet now, wood dark with wet, rope coiled like a sleeping snake. Its last soft thump seems to hang in the air as you gather the rope, lift the head, and guide the line back to the groove you marked. Dates and a little grain tucked where they belong, the taste of the well still sweet on your tongue. From the well's sweet chill and the bucket's last soft thump, you lead the line back onto pale ground that waits without promise. Cloth settles on your shoulders. Rope lies warm across your palm, then cooler where shade still clings under the frame. The air tastes faint of stone and leaf spice from the small gift you tucked away. Sand lifts in thin ghosts around your boots and falls again. You check your cord, slide one last bead, and smooth the map in your head. You feel the bead click against its neighbor, a tiny sound that sits close to your ear and stays there. The sun warms your neck in a slow spread, a clean heat, like a hand laid flat with no hurry. Leather brushes your sleeve and leaves the tannery's quiet scent, softened by road and time. A cousin behind you mutters in his scarf and drifts back into rhythm. Farther off, a neighbor coughs once and is done. Your boots lift small puffs of dust that taste like old sifted bread. The groove you pressed at dawn lies ahead, faint as chalk rubbed thin. You lean the head toward it, let the rope speak down your arm, and feel the pull turn even. Wool rubs wood with a low hush. The sound folds into the day until you only know it when it stops. A strap tries to wander. You brush it flat and tie it with a short thong. Your tongue is salt from the well, sweet still at the back from dates. The bead gives another tiny click as you mark the first reach. You may believe the far line will show you a sign, but the near ground is kinder. You keep to it. Sand holds yesterday's prints at the edges, then erases them, then scatters them into glare. A dog without a name glides along the shadow of a frame, finds a cool patch, and leaves. Your fingers ride the twist in the rope where old palms smooth the roughness. It fits you the way a tool fits after years of use. When the count fills, the bead clicks again. Quiet, exact. The sound of a door closing without weight. Heat gathers on your back and shoulders. Cloth drinks it and gives it back in a slow trade. You take a mouthful from the skin and wait through a count you do not speak. The water tastes steady and safe. The lip smells of hide and a thin note of smoke that never fully leaves. You fold the skin under a strap and lay a patch of cloth between leather and leather so they will not chew. The line keeps true. The world keeps wide. The bead finds its place and clicks. A small bright point in the day's long gray. Your boots press small circles into the sand and lift powder that drifts toward the flank. The camel beside you smells warm and clean, like dry hay in winter. The rim of the lamp's bowl on the frame shows a dull ring of old oil. You touch it and wipe dust from the edge with your thumb. Wood there feels honest and dry. A strip of felt brushes your wrist. Its grain is scratch, then smooth. Another reach ends. The bead clicks and brings your mind back from the pale distance to the square of ground under your feet. You work small tidings while you walk. A wedge under a frame wants a nudge. You set it with 2 fingers and feel the rattle stop. A girth picks up grit. You slide a cloth through and clear the line before it bites. Your scarf catches a taste of well water still hiding in the weave. It lifts the mouth and fades. A goat you do not own crosses far off and turns to stone when it sees your shadow, then melts into the light. The bead clicks once more, a neat seam between one silence and the next. Shadow grows thinner, then shifts, then begins to lengthen. The clock you trust stays in your hands. You sight the sun with thumb and open palm and move the head by a quiet width. Rope weight answers with a lightness you like. Dust gathers along the edges of your sandals and paints your toes gray. You rub the line clean on a ragged stone as you pass and feel the cool bite of shade on the leather. The bead's click returns and sets a soft pin in the hour. You think of the bowl wrapped by the frame, of bread in its cloth, of grain tied in a corner sack to serve as weight if a strap loosens. These are rooms in your head you can enter without sound. You move a pale stone forward and seat it where the groove bends into glare. The stone's top is hot, its belly still cool. The lesson travels through your fingers and up your arm. A cart plank far behind gives one dry note and goes quiet. The bead clicks, and you keep the same pace you held at dawn. Wind arrives without a face, only a low edge. It trims sweat before it can gather and brings the smell of salt flats from somewhere you left this morning. You lift the scarf to cover your mouth and learn the rough of the weave again. A lizard draws a brief line ahead of your boots and vanishes into a quilt of small stones. Wool leans against your sleeve. Hide warms your forearm. The bead slides and clicks. The sound is the small hinge that keeps your thoughts from swinging too wide. You pass through a shallow bowl where light lies like water. The groove fades to nothing here, but your body keeps it alive. Shoulder holds, hand holds, hips hold. You do not wait for proof. You make it. The counting cord rubs a faint band at your wrist and leaves a pale print you will wash at night. You sip once more, enough to quiet the salt at the back of your tongue. When the earth rises again, the groove returns like an old path. The bead clicks, and the click tells you the bowl is behind. Someone at the edge sneezes into cloth and laughs, a dry sound without voice that lifts and falls. A cousin spreads a blanket to air and folds it again while walking. The corners slap wool and lie flat. A fly troubles your cheek and gives up. You press a wrinkle from a strap and smooth the cloth beneath with the heel of your hand. Dust coats your glove and makes your skin smell like road and rope. The bead clicks, and for one small instant, you think it keeps better accounts than any trader. You shoulder the line across a patch where salt crust returns in thin plates. The plates snap with modest little sighs under the camels and leave pale chips like broken shells. You skirt the worst, and the rope grows lighter when you choose right. Your mouth wants fruit. Your belt gives you a single dry shard of apricot you saved by chance. It lifts the taste of stone in your throat, and then is gone. The bead clicks at reach's end and seems to cool the air, though you know it does not. The sun lowers. Color leans back into the world from gray to straw, to a faint wash of honey. Leather warms less. Wool smells softer. You pass a ring of old firestones and feel the night to come as a small room that waits, swept and ready. You slide the bead again and hear the click, as if it were happening inside the bones of your hand, not just in the cord. You place one more pale stone on the line, not a promise, only a friend for later eyes. You open the skin for the last fair drink before camp. Your teeth feel the cool, and your tongue says yes in a way no one hears. You share a small pour with the nearest mouth and watch it taken without haste. The bowl on the frame shifts. You touch it, and it settles. The lamp rides quiet. The air smells of dust and clean hide, and a thin thread of smoke from some unseen ring of stones. The bead clicks, and you think, here is the corner of the day where the cloth turns. You travel the final reach between two small marks you made at noon, a short seam saved for tired feet. Boots lift small puffs of dust that drift back and paint your calves. Sand grips and lets go. Rope hums across your palm with its old friendly rasp. Your eyes keep to the groove and the two pale stones and nothing else. When the measure fills, the bead slides and finds home with its tiny click, the closing motif of a long, patient count. You let the rope rest across your forearm and stop where the ground tells you to stop. The sun warms your neck one last time before it leans away. A dog settles in the line of your shadow and turns once, then keeps still. Someone far behind lowers a pole and folds cloth. The small flap you know so well lifts, then sleeps. You hold the cord in your palm and feel the bead's round face, warm from your skin. Quiet now. The map in your head lies smooth, with its rooms of rope, lamp, bowl, sand, cloth, stone, water, wood, dust, bread. You do not need to look at it yet. It will wait for morning. You listen for loose things and hear none. Wool and leather settle. Wood stops speaking. The scent around you is simple and kind. The bead does not move. Its last small click lingers like a pin set into cloth, shining once, then covered by evening's fold, while dust sinks and the pale ground holds every quiet mark you made. From the last small click of the bead and the long plane of pale ground, you bring the head toward a line of darker color that waits like a hush at the edge of sight. Sand turns to firm silt under your boots, and the air changes its taste. Dust thins, and a clean, wet smell rises, soft and green. Rope cools in your hand as shade grows in patches across the path. You hear the soft rustle of reeds ahead, a fine whisper that slips around wood and cloth and skin and settles the day. You ease the rope and let the animals slow along a bank where water lies narrow and dark under low trees. Leaves throw a light pattern over your arms. The shade lies green on your skin, and the color calms you in a way dust never could. You kneel and set the bowl at the edge. Mud is smooth and cool under your fingers, like polished clay. Reed stalks lean and nudge one another, speaking in that small, even hush. The bell is quiet now, and you are glad of it. You dip the bowl and lift it with both hands, careful not to stir the bottom. The water feels heavy and kind, not cold enough to bite, only strong enough to carry your wrists down a little. You taste a sip to learn it, and it is clear and stony and sweet. Your tongue wakes and then rests, grateful as a worker under cloth shade. A cousin shifts on the far side of the trees and mutters. A neighbor coughs once, as if to test the air, and then the rustle of reeds folds over the camp like a soft lid. You pour for the first mouth at the trough, not much, just a calm gift. A muzzle breathes down the rim and lifts beads back into the bowl. They slide off and run down your knuckles in thin strings. Hide smells warm and grassy. Wool brushes wood and quiets there. You lower the bowl again, and the reed hush keeps you company while the water rises and falls. Sun reaches across the tree gaps and warms your neck, then lets go when the wind moves the leaves. You unfasten the skins and rinse each neck. Leather takes the wet and turns darker in a breath, softening to the touch. The ties sit clean and low when you pull them snug, and your damp thumb tastes faint of hide and mineral. You settle the skins in shade under a cloth, then lay a narrow pad of felt between each so they will not grind. Grain from the small sack hisses into a pan, and the sound blends with the reeds. Dates wait in a folded wrap on a flat stone and shine like little lamps under green light. You wash your scarf and press it along a branch to drip. The cloth smells of clean water now, not smoke or dust. You pass a wet hand across your face, then your neck, and feel how the day loosens its hold on you. Bark under your palm is cool and ribbed. It marks your skin in gentle lines. Far along the bank, a goat you do not own tastes a reed tip and moves along, careful and quiet. A rat makes a soft run in the debris at the root of a tree and vanishes. The reed hush holds steady and turns the noon into a small, kind room. You fold the rope in long, even arms and lay it on a branch to dry where breeze can find it. Fiber feels warm from your palm and damp at the outer hairs, and the whole coil smells faintly of sun and water. The lamp's bowl sits under a cloth. You lift it and set it on a stone so light will not break it. The old ring of oil along the rim shines dull under green shade. You take a thin stick and brush grit from the mouth. Wood sounds like a tiny bow across silk when it moves along the metal, and then it stops. The reeds answer with their own soft music, never louder, never less. You share a small meal in pieces, not as a show, only as the day asks. Bread softens with a line of water, and grain, warmed with a touch of sun, turns sweet at the edges. A date rests on your tongue until it gives. Sugar meets salt and becomes simple. You tilt the bowl and drink again. The water carries a trace of reed and stone, and it sits deep and easy. Your fingers smell of wet wood and seed. A cousin lowers a blanket to air and lifts it back without a word. Cloth sighs once. The bell does not answer, and the lack of it feels right. You check the loads even here, because care is a habit that breath never steals. A strap that wanted to chew in the dry morning now lies harmless after a soak and a rub of oil. A peg that rattled on the hard flats sits quiet with a new wedge. You move a pad under a girth so the edge will not cut when you rise again. Shade lies green across your sleeves, and your eyes grow soft under it. Reed hush fills in the spaces where worry used to sit and leaves nothing sharp. You stretch your feet into the shallows and let silt roll between your toes inside the sandals. The cool finds places you did not know were asking. You lift both feet and empty the grit, shake the straps and tie them snug with clean knots. Sun reaches your knees and then slides away. The trees keep their slow work without care for you. The smell around you is water and leaf and the sweet life of mud. In the quiet, a bird makes a small noise and then closes its mouth. Reeds return to being the only voice. You lift the head rope and lay it across a branch so it will not soak, then rub the cheek strap with a wet cloth to take the salt out. Hide turns darker, then smooth. A muzzle leans past your shoulder to the bowl and sends a small spray on your neck. It cools and dries, leaving a fine crust. You laugh inside and press the cloth to the spot, then hang the cloth again. You turn the counting cord in your hand and slide the bead back to the start, not as a promise, only as a tidy end to the day's long run. The bead makes no sound. The reeds go on. You lie back on a rolled blanket and put your palm on the ground. Silt holds the print, then relaxes and erases it. The green light under the trees is not like any light out on the flats. It has weight and shade, a soft hand that you can feel on your cheeks and across your eyes. A dog settles near your ankle and sighs once, then sleeps. Farther away, a child's steps on the bank make the reeds nod and whisper, and then the sound leaves. The bell remains quiet. The hush of reeds keeps its place as if it were a low lamp in a still room. You oil one last strap and wrap it in cloth, then set the bundle where shadow will keep it from cracking. You bring the bowl close and watch the surface settle after your hand. The mirror there holds branches and a thin strip of sky and a little of your face. You take a mouthful and let it work. The taste stays clean and kind and carries you down to your ribs. You touch the tree bark again, feel its low, steady ridges, and think of rope, lamp, bowl, sand, cloth, stone, water, wood, dust, bread, all the rooms you lived inside on the way here. The reeds say yes without words. You gather the skins and lift them to their places so they will not draw insects. Leather is cool and smooth from the rinse. Cloth pads are clean and will keep quiet against them. You fold a spare blanket and lay it under the first frame pole so the wood will not dig. Dates and a little grain rest where they should. A cousin pulls his scarf over his eyes and drifts in the green shade. A neighbor covers the bowl with a cloth to keep leaf dust out and leans back. The reed hush spreads from the bank to the frames, thin and even, like a simple thread pulled through a long seam. When you close your eyes, you still hear water touch the bowl and slide away. You still feel shade lie on your arms and face. Your mouth keeps a faint line of sweetness and mineral from the last sip. The air moves slowly over the bank, and write small waves into the reed heads that you can hear, but do not need to see. You turn your head on the folded cloth, and the smell of leaf and wet wood stays with you. The bell is quiet now. Reed hush becomes the final motif as you settle under the trees, and the green light holds steady on your skin until even sound grows thin, and the whole day lies down beside you like a still, cool river.